Welcome everybody to High and Low, a podcast about talking picture shows.
We do films that are corny, and some that are horny, and some that win Academy Awards.
Doing all kind of movies from all kind of genres, serving hot takes like plates of lasagna.
Before we get going, a warning to you. You might hear some talk that's a little blue.
We sometimes cuss and we sometimes curse. We like to do it off the cuff and don't rehearse.
Now if this sounds like your kind of show,
Tune in,
Drop out.
This is High and Low.
This week, on a So Very episode of High and Low, we're talking about a subject that affects many people across the globe. I know it's very near and dear to my heart. Of course, we're talking about bullying. How do you handle a bully? Feed them drain cleaner? Waterboard them in a toilet? Lay waste to town with an alien laser blaster? We're going to find out as we discuss the 1989 cult classic Heathers and the legendary 1978 B-movie Laserblast. With me as always are my co-hosts Mitchell
Happy to be here.
and Luke.
Hi.
Fellas, how are you doing today?
Legendary Laserblast.
I had to pump it up a little bit.
Legend of the Laserblast.
I blew up your town.
World-renowned Laserblast.
It's a movie that I found. I was just looking through old movies, and the cover really spoke to me. And I realized it was kind of about a bullying. This guy discovers an alien laser blaster, and he takes revenge against bullies. So I looked up. Started thinking about other bully movies, and Heathers is kind of a movie about bullying or peer pressure, and just kind of
following with the teenage childhood coming age thing that of last episode, I guess. But
yeah,
this is a little bit older kids.
Yeah, they're older. So this is
another public service announcement episode.
That's right.
This is a message about bullying, and we're gonna really get down into the weeds on it, right?
The very special episode of High and Low where we talk about bullying. Like, full disclosure, I totally forgot what the linking theme was while I was watching these, and I was like, I don't know how these are connected, but I like it. I'm glad I'm watching them.
Dubiously.
They're both loosely connected through bullying.
I thought it might have been like coming of age was the theme, and I was like, oh yeah, I can kind of see it. Yeah. They're both coming of age tales. Yeah.
Classic coming of age tale. Boy meets girl, boy finds laser gun, turns into a zombie, gets annihilated.
It's one of our more tenuous connections.
Yeah. There is an underlying theme here, folks. You're in good hands. Don't worry.
Don't try this at home, kids. Michael Lehmann directed Heathers in 1989, and he's kind of best known for Airheads. And he also did 40 Days and 40 Nights, that classic.
He did that
Hudson
movie.
Hawk.
And don't forget, The Beaver Gets a Boner, his 1985 student film. I haven't checked that out. That's got to be on YouTube, though. That's probably worth a look.
I have not seen that, and stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
He did Truth About Cats and Dogs.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of movies I've seen.
He did the Billy Crystal one, where Billy Crystal is hanging out with a giant.
My Giant?
Yeah, My Giant.
I saw that in the theater. I loved it.
In the video store, you would always see it on the shelf type movies. Like, I saw that box a million times. But
kids now don't know, but Billy Crystal was like every kid's favorite in the 90s.
They loved him, and their parents did too.
I was delighted by
He hosted the Oscars like 10 times or something.
He was instant gold. You just sprinkled a little Billy Crystal dust on whatever you wanted, and it was juiced to the max.
It's a wonderful night for Oscar.
Oscar.
He did comedy. He did song and dance numbers. He did whatever you needed. He was the ultimate showman.
The ultimate lowest common denominator.
He works with everybody.
Yeah.
Including Michael Lehmann. So, like, needless to say, he's a name that nobody knows, but he's done movies that a lot of people have seen.
They're kind of weird off-color movies a little bit.
Yeah, the's no he's not like a Michael Mann where he's like an auteur is always examining the masculinity or like some sort of offshoot of that. He's a guy who just he directs movies. He directs fun movies. Mm-hmm. A lot of those movies seem pretty...
Looks like kind of poppy teen movies, stuff like that. And the writer of this one... It took me a couple minutes to get on this movie's wavelength.
Daniel Waters?
Yeah. He also wrote like Batman Returns and a few other things. I think he also wrote...
The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Demolition Man.
Rennie Harlan's best movie.
Maybe that'll be on the podcast one day.
I like his fucking credits. Okay, yeah, no, I get that writer.
Did take me a while to kind of check into what this movie was doing. Winona Ryder's the main character in the whole movie. She's kind of doing a voiceover, and it's like told through her her writing a diary. There was a couple lines where it's like, it's just so clear that a man is writing this and not like a teen girl. Like at the beginning, she's like, I'm so angry right now and I'm not even menstruating or something like that. It's like, no, I don't think any teen girl's writing that in her diary.
I've read a lot of teen girls' diaries.
I like to snoop, like to take a peek at what's going on in the lives of the youth.
Not only does he not sound like what a teenage girl would sound like, he doesn't really sound natural at all for any sort of teenager, but also it's like internally coherent, so it actually all kind of works out.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like Kevin Williamson. You guys, Dawson Creek and Scream. Like, like these teenage characters that were super literate and like really wordy speeches and like they knew all these pop culture references that teens of that particular age would not know.
Too cool for school.
Well, yeah. One of the Heathers in this one, for fun, she's reading a copy of Moby Dick all the time. That's kind of her, one of her character
she's
traits.
The bookish Heather. That's how I would denote her in my notes to differentiate, because there's 3 characters called Heather who are like, the mean girl clique of the school. And they rule the roost.
Yeah, then so that's Heather Duke. She's played by Shannen Doherty. And then there's Heather Chandler, played by Kim Walker, and Heather McNamara, played by Lisanne Fault.
Is Kim Walker is the boss Heather? Is she the Heather Chandler?
She's kind of the boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the boss. She wears the red bow or the red scarf in her hair. That's
red's the color of the boss.
One thing that's a total bummer, but like I noticed a bit of a theme with both movies that we watched. There's like a lot of these people met tragic young ends that are in these movies.
Yeah.
Kim Walker, she died at 32.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was in 2001. She had a brain tumor or something.
Okay.
Both the leads in Laserblast died young as well.
Oh, that's right.
Was like under 30 or right around 30. The other didn't make 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a congenital heart failure and he died at 37.
Yeah, it's really tragic.
His name was Kim something as well.
Yeah.
And he was like...
Movies are cursed.
If people name Kim, man, don't get into the movies, folks.
Shannen Doherty's not doing so great herself these days, but she was diagnosed with terminal cancer a couple of years ago.
Really?
But she's actually turned around and she's like doing really well.
Yeah. Laserblast, it was filmed in the desert. I wonder if it was like the nuclear test site. Like that's why they say John Wayne died so young. He filmed so many movies in the desert. Like
it could be.
It could have been that weird alien plate growing out of his chest too. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll do it.
John Wayne had that.
Anybody who spends any amount of time in the desert gets one.
Hey, John Ford, want to take a look at this thing in my chest, Pilgrim?
Fire a 6-shooter at it. You got to entertain yourself out there in the desert.
Shannen Doherty, she's a Republican now. I think she has been for a very long time. So
I liked her as the host of Scare Tactics. It was genius.
They'll like set up a scary practical joke in like somebody's bedroom, like to make it seem like aliens are running in and abducting them or
like
something.
Somebody applies for a job at like a laundromat and it's a fake job posted by the Scare Tactics guys, and they've actually set it up so it looks like someone's getting murdered in the back or something, and they just terrify a person who doesn't know who shows up and prank them. It's like Punk'd with Ashton Kutcher, but way scarier, like a psycho version. It is great, and she was the host. Yeah,
Doherty 2024, Trump Doherty.
It's about time we had somebody from 90210 in office. That's the track they were on, right, in the show. Like one of the characters should have made it to the Oval Office.
Oh yeah,
a bunch of rich kids.
Yeah,
or Melrose Place or something.
Instead of the Oval Office, they just hopped over to Melrose Place. The movie starts. Yeah, we're listening to When I Was Just a Little Girl, I asked my mother, what would I be?
No, please sing the whole song.
Yes. It's the serene kind of music going on. They're playing, there's a game of croquet being played. Well,
these 3 pretty young girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sitting on a bench. They stand up and they trample over some flowers. Very symbolic as they're walking.
Well, they'll step all over anything in their path.
They're all color-coded.
Yeah.
Red is the lead Heather.
They're color-coded to the a croquet set.
And croquet is very bougie.
Whenever I play croquet, I just kind of whack the one ball into the other ball as hard as I can and maybe try to hit your buddy in the shin.
Yeah, it's not really a bougie game, but like it's kind of like shorthand for bougie at a certain point.
Yes.
In the 90s or 80s.
I mean, if croquet is not bougie enough, that yard is. It's like the most beautiful backyard in the history of movies. It's got like marble statues peppered throughout it.
It has like 3 fountains.
Yeah.
The one of Veronica's parents, they're always there. They're always eating pate. They're just super posh, super rich.
Yeah, they didn't seem that rich, her parents, but they were eating pate a lot.
All they ate is 100% pate.
And that was also like a signifier in those days of like rich, snooty people. Pate. It's like, who even... To me, pate is like cheap ground liver.
It's like a liver. It's like a tube of sausage that you buy and squeeze out.
Yeah,
on a
we
cracker.
ate that shit because we were poor when I was a kid. Like, it's not that good. Like, you can get it at like from roadside stands in Vietnam, and it's like great. But
I got a log of it in my fridge right now.
Yeah, yeah.
La-di-da.
Humble brag. Don't want to brag or nothing.
They're playing croquet, and Winona Ryder's head is in the ground. She's buried up to her neck in the ground, and they're shooting a
like some sort of desert torture type thing where they're gonna let you be eaten by ants or something, but they're just shooting croquet balls at her face.
And then she starts addressing the camera and breaks the third wall right off the bat with her undisguised Minnesota accent. Dear diary, you want to fuck with the eagles? You better learn to fly.
Yeah, she doesn't sound like a valley girl.
No, she sounds like Fargo.
I mean, I guess I was going to say that she was a new girl, but she wasn't. She was like an unpopular girl who got elevated to the cool girl status.
Yeah.
She has that one friend throughout the movie, Betty. They've been friends for a long time, and then she ditched her to be with the Heathers.
Yeah, she's just pretty enough, and she's just wealthy enough that she can like maybe get an in with the Heathers. Right?
Yeah, and she has a very useful skill. As she's talking, you hear her kind of voicing over her diary entry, and she writes like an absolute 5-year-old. But apparently she can make her handwriting look like anybody's. She can forge anybody's writing.
This is such a contrivance of a special skill.
She's a master forger. It's going to come into play a lot later. But yeah, they introduce it early on. It's good foreshadowing.
By the way, I don't think we have any SA in this episode for once, which is nice. But I'm going to just throw a little content warning right up top about suicide and self-harm. Because
there is a couple essays in this episode.
Yeah, actually, each movie has one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
But they're not severe. But
no.
The suicide thing is a major...
pretty fucked. Yeah.
It's a major theme in this movie, and it's a joke, and we're going to laugh and talk about it because that's how the movie expects you to treat it.
One thing doing this podcast has taught me is just how many movies have like a rape or sexual assault in them. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You always thought of like A Clockwork Orange. Sure, that's a big part of that movie. There's a whole big scene with that.
There's one scene. That's like in every movie we've covered so far.
Yeah, it turns out.
And it never serves the plot.
In a lot of B movies, it was a way just to throw in some titillation and like get some TNA in the movie.
Thrills.
Yeah. We don't condone it, but there it is.
I do condone suicide. In fact, I encourage it. For all our listeners. Whatever. I already put the content warning out there. Now we can joke about it.
Yeah. Now it's high and low after dark, baby.
Cracking the strong beer.
Right off the hop, Veronica meets up with the other Heathers, and we're introduced to some very of its time, maybe, I don't know, dialogue. There's a lot of phrases that I remember hearing a little bit growing up, like, what's your damage? Yeah. But then there's other ones that I've never really heard, like, it'll be very.
You're so very.
I don't know if this was actual teen dialogue of the time, or if this was Daniel Waters' dialogue, the writer.
Yeah,
who,
a lot of it.
I don't know much about him. Maybe he was like a 40-year-old man trying to be like...
I think he must have done his research on Valley Girl slang. Some like Valley Girls talk to him and they're like, oh yeah, and we say this and this and this, and he's like, and he's writing it all down, and they're like, he's such an incredulous fool. We would never say those stupid fucking slang.
So, you're saying this guy's not a total pillowcase?
Yeah, I'm glad you guys noted some of the slang. I didn't have enough time to write any of it down. It's
There's
so fast and furious.
Fucking much of it. Yeah, there's such a pillowcase. I'd spew burrito chunks. Fuck me gently with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Do I look like Mother Teresa?
Yeah, that was one of those lines where I was like, I don't know if a teen girl says that. I feel like Daniel Waters probably says that, but
maybe the Mother Teresa line. That she was like
she's a big cultural icon,
big reference
around me gently with a chainsaw, kind of.
Yeah. These are like teen girls who are telling each other to suck my dick.
Would you let go of my dick?
Yeah, that's a good line, but no teenage girl would say that. Teenage girls, write in and put your full names and
Correct
numbers
us.
and addresses, please.
Other times they just kind of sounded like the Stand By Me boys, their slang, like, that's so funny I forgot to laugh, or stuff like that. Like, I could totally see that coming out of these girls' mouths.
Yeah, so they're the mean popular girls, the Heathers, and there's we see like the big cafeteria scene, which is like a given in these kinds of movies. And the only thing that's really different is the dialogue. Like we've said, it's so unique. It's the shit everybody's saying is crazy.
Yeah.
That's like the whole thing in this movie. The closest analog I can find is like Mean Girls.
It's definitely a Mean Girls prototype. Like Mean Girls saw this movie.
Yeah,
and
Tina Fey said this was like a big influence on her, and it shows.
foul mouths and
And the boss, Heather, who wears the red, who is like in charge of everything, is basically a Regina King or whatever from
everything's
Mean Girls.
turned up to 11 to use a Rob Reiner parlance.
like all of these movies, we get introduced to all of the different kind of cliques. You have
the cliques,
the
in the
nerdy
cafeteria.
folks, you have the jocks,
Yeah.
the mean girls, you have the kind of outcasts. There's this one girl, she's kind of large and they make fun of her for it, and so
Yeah, Dump Truck Martha.
Dump
they
Truck
call her.
Martha.
Stand By Me had Lard Ass Hogan, and unfortunately Heather's has Dump Truck Martha.
I hope Lardass and Dump Truck meet each other.
Yeah, what the match made in heaven. It's actually a really effective scene. This cafeteria scene. It like introduces every character in the movie basically.
It always is. It's like a screenwriter's dream, having a cafeteria scene where there's different groups of people. They're all forced to intermingle to some degree, and there's social dynamics at play.
that's just what high school was, where you just like jam a bunch of people, like 1,000 kids who are going through some of the craziest time in their life up until that point, and like locking the doors for 8 hours a day. And happens.
It's a social experiment. Yeah.
The Stanford prison experiment. Yeah, we get the jocks as like, I want to get a Heather, put her on my Johnson and spin her around like a goddamn pinwheel.
Yeah.
These guys are such douches, but like, that seems about right.
Yeah, super nerdy nerds.
Got the burnouts too.
Yeah.
You get everybody's there.
Yeah, the jocks are there. That's me. I'm the cool one that's getting pussy. And
I'm probably one of the nerdy, like the do-gooders who's like behind the table handing out like pamphlets to free Tibet or whatever the cause, that, like big thing in
Tibet.
Yeah, feed people in Africa, and then the Heathers sit down and they're like, do they still need to be fed over there? Like, it's just very Heathers, like the boss clique dialogue, like very clueless Valley Girls.
Yeah.
But we also see Christian Slater. Jason Dean is the character, and he's making eyes at Veronica. That's Winona Ryder.
They clock each other from across the room. He's got like a quizzical look.
He's got like smoke in his eyes the whole time. They're always just squinting, and he's staring from across the room.
He's doing a Jack Nicholson impression.
Absolutely.
Since we're rambly off the top, just setting this up, what's your guys' thoughts on Christian Slater?
I like him. I don't really know that I've seen much of him lately, but I'm never really unhappy when he shows up. He's a value-added performer for me.
He's in a lot of movies that I quite like he's in True Romance and stuff. I'm not sure how I feel about him as an actor though. Maybe he was like a Paul Walker would be a more modern equivalent, like kind of a pretty
he's
boy.
Got a lot more character than Paul
he's
Walker.
a better actor than Paul Walker was.
But he kind of always does. Also, he's sort of playing Christian Slater in Robin Hood. He's not doing
more of a character. We were trying to do impressions of him, which you'll hear of later. But like he's like a little Jack Nicholson.
He's got a lot of Jack Nicholson flavor in the mix.
Yeah. But
he's
I don't like him.
Spice.
I don't fucking like him as an actor. I never have. And I've liked a lot of movies he's in. Interview with the Vampire, Pump Up the Volume. Like I can take him in a movie because usually the movies have good scripts that he's in. He's always he had a good run where he was in all these good movies. I think he fucking stinks.
He does his thing, and he doesn't deviate from it much. But usually, because the scripts are good, he does that thing well for the script. Because people put him in there because he fits with what's going on in the script.
How about this line from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Fuck me, he cleared it. Classic Will Scarlet.
Yeah, he's like Jack Nicholson in Robin Hood, Jack Nicholson in whatever other movies he's done. Kind of a bit of Elvis in the mix.
I've seen him in like 4 things, I guess.
I've definitely he was in so many movies in the early 90s.
Was he in Broken Arrow?
Yeah.
That movie stunk.
Yo, yeah, John Woo.
One of John Woo's American movies.
If I look at his filmography, I bet I've seen him in like 12 movies, like a lot of movies.
Yeah, well, he was in that, maybe it was a career killer, I don't know, that Uwe Boll movie, Afraid of the Dark or Alone in the Dark.
Dog shit.
Yeah.
Well, fell off after like 1996.
That was all she wrote. And
Flash in the Pan.
He might be due for a renaissance.
Are you calling me a flash in the pan? So the blonde Heather, Kim Walker, Heather
McNamara.
I call her Heather 1. But 2 is Lisanne Falk, the other blonde Heather,
Okay,
and then
and
3 is Shannen Doherty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and there is a degree of confusion meant to be built in.
I use their last names, but they're a mouthful.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a statement on conformity and all that, like all these identical Heathers, although they do all have their quirks.
Barely.
She does these lunchtime polls of the students. She likes to avoid the weirdos and the nerds, and fuck them.
Who cares what they
Their
think?
opinions don't count, yeah. And she's right.
Yeah.
Nowadays we have podcasts and we got to hear what all those nerds think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to sell school papers here. I think that's what the poll's for, the school paper.
We're just putting podcasts out to keep the studio from crumbling in on itself.
$5 million in 2 days. You have 2 days before all these aliens come and destroy the Earth. And you get $5 million, which in 1989 was a lot of money. Nowadays, it's like, I don't know, I'd pay off my debt.
Yeah.
Student loans, goodbye.
Go peacefully into the sunset.
Get a Colt 45.
I think I'll buy a casket.
You guys eating pate, having caskets.
By the
Spoiled.
good pate. They're bugging her because she won't quiz the weirdos and stuff. One guy, and then she does.
Yeah.
And then she does get some actually interesting answers. One guy's like, he said he'd suicide bomb a lion. He's like, I go to the zoo with like a suicide bomb on and like put it in a lion. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I like that guy.
It is a clever way of getting a little insight into all the different groups that are there. There's like the stoner group. They want to blow up the lion. There's
Yeah, that would have definitely been me.
Yeah.
I said I was a jock earlier. I was the stoner.
Is there one guy who's like, I would invested in stocks or something?
Yeah,
which
I,
makes
totally
no
missed
sense.
the point.
Yeah.
That's the crypto bro these days.
Yeah.
What a stupid fucking poll topic, anyway.
And she does these every week.
I
High
hate-
maintenance, just even be in her orbit.
She says-
deserves everything that happens.
She's talking to Veronica and she's like, you want to be the most powerful clique at school, don't you? Or something like that. This somehow plays into her plan to like everyone, the Heathers are on the forefront of everyone's mind when we're doing these polls or something. It's all part of her plan.
She runs a school in the town with an iron fist. Like everybody just licks her boot heels.
But nobody seems to like her. Like everybody just kind of hates her pretty much right to her face. They don't dare go against her.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can you do?
So
You're rich and powerful. And they eventually come around and they want to go and ask Jason Dean. That's Christian Slater's character.
greetings and salutations.
Is that what he says?
Oh, God.
And then they ask him what he'd do. He says, I'd row out to the middle of a lake somewhere, bring a bottle of tequila, my sacks, and some Bach. And they're like, how very.
He is like bohemian. That's so interesting that he would do that.
So
What a
very.
fucking douche. They should have just
Yeah.
killed him.
That's
right then
too.
and there.
That's at least one thing too many. Probably two things too many.
Yeah. And Veronica doesn't think he's a douche, though. She's like, that is. You can tell she's been smitten by him at this point.
He's not like the other boys.
No, he's fascinating.
He's cultured.
Well, I don't blame him for shooting his shot.
Yeah.
Hell no.
And the way he talks, if he wasn't Christian Slater, if he looked like a dump truck Martha or a lard ass Hogan, he would be like a total like a gentle sir fedora guy, like one of the
lady.
like greetings and salutations.
Would you like to come and see my samurai sword? Katanas, they call them.
Yeah. But he's Christian Slater, so he's actually the girls are into him.
Yeah.
Well, Veronica is at least.
He's got bedroom eyes.
I think that's it. I have the
He's
same
so
problem with
cool.
him that I have with Bradley Cooper. I just don't like their faces.
Yeah, I have a few actors like that. But
And it's like they're expected to like be good looking or charismatic, and I just want them off the screen.
Well,
Yeah.
The second they're on the screen, even if they're not bad actors.
If you're not charmed by somebody who's supposed to be charming, then that's kind of a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
Totally.
But it did it worked in this movie because I got a vibe from him right away. It was like, I don't think this guy is as cool as he seems. And I have never seen this movie before, so I didn't know where it was going. But as it did keep going on, I was like, this guy's a real piece of shit. He's just like constantly gaslighting Veronica and everything like this. And I'm like,
Oh, he's a real asshole.
Big time.
eventually I was like, okay, that's the point. You're not supposed to like him. Because from these first scenes, you would think, oh, this guy's cool. Like I'm supposed to think
Well,
he's
you're
cool.
supposed to be brought in and charmed by him, and then as time goes on, you realize like that whole veneer drops. But even from the beginning, like he's an unhinged lunatic because these two jocks come over and like want to start a fight with him, and he pulls a gun on them and fires a couple blanks in each of their faces.
We're about 10 minutes into the movie before we get the first F word slur.
Yeah, that's a problem.
They go right up to him because they're jealous that he's
getting the Heather's attention, and they find him interesting.
They say, doesn't this cafeteria have a no F words rule? He's like, I see they have an open door asshole policy. He just pulls out a fucking gun in the cafeteria and shoots it.
Oh, that comeback was so lame.
But the gun proved his point.
The gun
got the message across.
Yeah, you pull out a fucking Clint Eastwood gun.
A real hand cannon.
You don't need to have a good comeback.
Those jocks, that's the kind of their thing. They'll be dropping F slurs and gay bullying people all throughout the movie. And they kind of get their comeuppance later when they're found to be in a possible gay suicide pact.
Yeah. So what happens here is Heather and JD kind of get to know each other. And throughout the course of the movie, JD persuades Heather to start murdering these people. And they get murdered, like kind of all these bullies and these people who are like these wrongdoers. And the ways that they murder them are kind of like fly in the face of what everybody else's perceptions of them are. Like, so they kill the first Heather, Heather 1, she's killed and it's a suicide, and everybody thinks that she's the most confident person in the world, and then they find out that she actually didn't. The other two present themselves to be the most like alpha jock guys ever, and then when they die, they're killed and they're made to look like they're lovers, which just like flies in the face of everybody.
Yeah, they look smart. Heather looks like she had depth, all that kind of stuff. One of those things where these fake suicides have turned these people that everybody hated when they were alive into saints in everyone's eyes. And that's part of what's going on in this movie.
I get what it's trying to say, but it's a bit of a gross message, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's definitely that take. I think this is a pre-Columbine movie. Maybe this movie
100%.
would not be made in this day and age at all.
Chance with this movie
I don't know.
made today.
I like whatever. I was a little triggered by it.
I'm
a triggered little snowflake.
Well, yeah, this movie is like a headlines we've seen all growing up. So
yeah,
there is that.
It wasn't just headlines. I mean, I think most of us, everybody pretty much has friends that they've lost to suicide, and the way it makes light of it makes a big joke out of how everybody like thinks it's so funny.
It's an interesting phenomenon though, because that's like an actual thing in real life, is that in a community when some suicides start happening, there's a thing where it starts snowballing and like more people commit suicide.
It's like, hey, that guy's got the right idea.
Yeah, this place really does suck. Yeah,
I mean,
it's a bit of a commentary in this movie because the first few suicides are staged, and it's the popular kids who are suicided in what's actually a murder, and then that starts like rolling downhill, and other kids in the school start attempting suicide and stuff.
So the Veronica and the Heathers are going to a college party,
the Remington University party.
Yeah, so there's all these creepy college guys who, it's really cool for high school girls to go to a college party or whatever, and all of them are like, "What's your major?" or whatever.
Yeah, it's gross. The scene. There's a bunch of college guys skeezing on these high school girls.
Yeah, this guy's like, I know you're probably tired of hearing "What's your major?" Like everybody just asks "What's your major?" is like an opening line.
Yeah.
And then
beat
like,
of
2 seconds
silence
later, he's like, "So, if you were to go to college, what subjects would you study?"
Yeah. That's a funny line.
Yeah, he's creeping on Veronica. He wants to get with her. Veronica's there with boss Heather. She's got the other guy, and
Heather wants with this guy. She just like straight goes and takes him and gives him a blowjob.
And she leaves him with this other guy who's like, excellent. Yeah, you girls bring your partying slippers or what?
They're all such skeezes.
College guys with high school girls.
Yeah, and while the boss Heather is getting it on with the one guy.
Yeah, college guys, save some for us.
Yeah, what the heck? Some of us working class stiffs need to get in on the action too.
Heather 1's doing her thing. She's not really too happy with it. And Veronica's like, she just wants to leave, and she pukes all over the carpet and makes a scene. And
yeah,
Heather 1's just beside herself.
The guy she was with is like, this girl's a stuck-up bitch. She doesn't want to give me any.
Yeah.
He just flat out says, like, hey, look, we don't got to talk. All I want to do is get laid.
Hey, and Heather's not on her side. She's like, what's your damage? You're being a real coos.
Yeah, a coos. Again, Daniel Waters, I think. I don't know if teen girls say coos, but I love it. That. That's like 1950s detective noir slang or something.
I don't even know.
Yeah, you old coos.
Yeah, she fights with Heather, and she tells Heather to lick it up, baby.
Lick it up. And so Veronica, she's all pissed off about this. She's furiously scribbling away like a toddler in her journal, and how she's vowing revenge against Heather, and she's going to go down. And just now, JD does what everybody does in these high school movies. He just pops in through the window like, hey, just came in from your window.
He says another neckbeard thing where if it wasn't Christian Slater, he would be like, what the hell? He's like, dreadful etiquette. I apologize, as he crawls in through the window.
How about a game of croquet?
Well, I never played strip croquet before.
Oh yeah, they get it on.
Yeah, like immediately it just cuts to them like being half naked and it post-coital
bliss.
They're
Cool.
in the afterglow.
Yeah.
They're basking in it.
I appreciate that. The movie just gets right to them fucking.
Hell yeah, she's not getting with those college guys because she's a prude or whatever. She just doesn't want to get with some creepy college guy. She'd rather.
Yeah.
I don't want the protagonist to be some coos.
Yeah, she reveals some of her backstory here. She's like, I was a real genius, and I was supposed to go into the special genius programs in school, but now
Dr. Xavier's School for the Gifted Children,
Yeah.
perhaps you've heard of it.
now I just use my genius intellect to pick out lipstick shades and stuff.
Yeah,
so
she confides in him that she doesn't like her friends. They're bitches.
I don't like them either.
Now, Scribbler, you know your very special gift of writing anybody's handwriting is essential to the X-Men's accounting department. Now forge these checks.
It is basically a mutant ability. But there's criminals who are doing time in the federal penitentiary right now who didn't have half her skill at forging someone's signature.
So,
Yeah, what's that guy that Leonardo DiCaprio played?
Oh,
in Catch
Frank
Me?
Abagnale. Yeah.
Frank Abagnale.
Oh.
Yeah, Leo would have liked her.
Master
She's
forger.
about
few
the
more
right
years.
age. Yeah.
She's age appropriate.
They just right away decide to go to Heather One's house to fucking poison her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heather One spread the rumor at school because Veronica puked at the college party. She's like, I am so telling the whole school about this. You'll be ruined on Monday. Like, your reputation is done for. So the whole school knows that Veronica puked or something, and she wants to get revenge now. And when she was laying down with Christian Slater, she was like, I hate her so much, I could kill her. And Christian Slater was like, well, why don't you?
I just got a bit of a boner. He intends to kill her. She just wants to kind of give her a tummy ache and make her throw up.
Yeah, she thought they were doing pillow talk and having a little joke. He's like, he keeps pushing it. He's like, well, I like drain cleaner in the drink for a poison. She wants to like mix chicken stock and milk and vinegar or something.
Orange juice and milk and just make a gross drink. And he's like, well, why don't we put this rat poison in here with this drain cleaner? And a bunch of ball bearings.
This is crazy. I had no idea what to expect of this movie. I didn't expect this.
Yeah,
No.
it just kind of really comes out of nowhere.
She's giving like an awkward chuckle, like, yeah, that is funny, but he's not really joking.
She'll never drink it. She'll never drink that stuff. It's like, well, we'll just make it, mix it up and make it look like it's orange juice.
Yeah, it's a special hangover cure. Yeah, so she's in bed and they wake her up and she's hungover from the party, of course.
In the craziest bed.
Yeah.
It's like a clamshell from that like Aphrodite thing where it's just like this massive backed bed behind
It's
her.
not a homie. You never seen a naked chick riding a clam before?
It's a very rich person bed.
Everything about it. Like this room has like 3 glass coffee tables and like
the entire room is just like pink satin or whatever
Every
it is.
morning. Every morning there's a halo hanging from the corner of my girlfriend's 4-post bed.
That song was written about this movie.
Yeah. That's a true
About
story.
Boss Heather.
So yeah, I whipped this up for your hangover. It's a family recipe.
But you're
She's
too
like,
chicken to drink it,
yeah.
I bet.
You put a phlegm globber in it or something.
And they were trying to put a phlegm globber in it, but they couldn't work up the...
Well, that was what they settled on. Or
that was
they were
really funny.
They kept snorting up some phlegm, but I think they couldn't get enough to get a proper phlegm globber. They both tried, though.
Good chemistry between Winona Ryder and Christian Slater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was funny. They're just like, I got nothing.
Sometimes you don't got the phlegm.
No, if you don't got the phlegm, you can't make the gobber.
Like you said, he calls her chicken. She
That
just
does the
slams it and just immediately drops dead through the glass coffee table.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Like, it looks really good when she smashes through it.
Yeah.
And it's just a mess, and they don't know what they're gonna do. So JD tells Veronica, like, grab her diary. You gotta write a suicide note.
She's pretty freaked out, and he's pretending he's pretty freaked out too. Like, it wasn't all intentional. Like, he's like, oh man, I can't believe she actually died. And freaking out.
Oh, this has never happened to me before. This guy has a body count of dozen.
He's been in a ton of stuff. He's been in 111 movies.
Holy
Jesus
shit.
Christ,
that works.
Must be doing like those secret Russian movies with Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
and shit.
that's got to be where he's at now. He was like a bankable star in the 80s and 90s, and now he'll get cast in these micro-budget movies where all the money goes to him probably just to get his name on the poster.
I would get him. If we ever make a movie, we could
Better
do a lot worse.
Yeah, Steven Seagal, we don't want that guy.
Jack ain't working.
I'm done with the movies. I'll do it.
I'll be your little Jack.
I'm the new Jack.
I was watching some interview with him yesterday, and he's the interviewer's like, yeah, I've worked with all sorts of great actors like Sean Connery. Yeah, Indiana Jones, James Bond was one of my favorites when I was a kid, but working with him then wasn't exactly the James Bond that I had envisioned. I mean, he was bald.
Firing shots
bald.
at Sean Connery. You got some fucking nerve there, Christian.
And not even the right kind of shots.
And that was-
Like Sean Connery was grumpy and mean on set.
He was bald.
He was a cheapskate. Yeah.
He didn't slap women hard enough. I told him, you got to slap them harder.
He wasn't pulling the chicks like he used to at that time.
The problem is, you're bending your wrist. You got to keep a straight arm.
Never meet your heroes.
Valuable lessons learned.
So they kill Heather, and they're faking the suicide note. She asks him if he's ever faked a suicide before, and he doesn't immediately respond no, which means he's done this at least 20 times.
His whole story is that he goes from school to school because his dad's in the construction biz. So he's been to like 7 schools in 7 different states in the last 7 years or something.
Every
His
single
dad
one of them
is the craziest part of this movie.
Every single one of my past schools has blown up under mysterious circumstances.
Isn't that weird?
It doesn't make sense.
So yeah, Winona's losing her mind. She's like, "What are we gonna tell the cops? Fuck her if she can't take a joke, Sarge." Which that line is real. I still use "fuck them if they can't take a joke."
Yeah.
It's a blend.
Well, it's another Daniel Waters line that probably a teen girl wouldn't be saying.
No.
But
That's a middle-aged white guy that says that line.
yeah.
But JD knows exactly what to say. He comes up with like the perfect suicide note that's gonna strike a chord with everybody in the whole town.
I
Yeah.
have myriad problems is a big
Yeah.
word in it.
And he kind of he's roping her into it too. She's becoming a more active participant in writing this note because he's like saying the wrong things, and she's like, "Oh no, Heather wouldn't talk that
She
way."
wouldn't say myriad. She got that wrong on her last week's quiz.
Well, that's why she wants to prove herself now by writing it again. The teachers, when they're discussing this suicide, they're impressed. The first thing they say is, "I can't believe she used myriad in her suicide
She got
note."
that wrong on my quiz. Like, the teacher's lounge is pretty funny. Like, all the teachers are just like, they have their own different personalities. The principal's just this hard ass. Like, he probably was a sergeant in the military or in the Vietnam War or something.
Yeah, it's like a council room, the Justice League's council table where they all sit. The teachers just gather there, I guess, and have a council every day.
And there's the bleeding heart liberal, the English teacher, or the
Hippie.
drama teacher, or whatever she is.
Big time hippie.
Yeah, no thanks.
She's super into the suicide thing. She's like, it's a chance for all the kids to get really
we
in
can connect
touch
and have a conversation. And meanwhile, everybody else is trying to decide on whether they can take a full day off. And they're like, "Oh, she's only a cheerleader, huh? No, maybe if she was an athlete, we could close the school down for a day." And
Yeah.
everybody's just trying to exploit it for their own means.
This is a really black comedy.
Yes.
Then it cuts to the kids right from there, and they're having basically the same conversation. They're like, the Heathers aren't torn up about this at all. They're like, we only get a day off school? I wanted to get a week off.
Yeah, and Heather 3, I think, pulls Heather 1's swatch out of her locker.
Yeah.
Remember Swatch?
Good old Swatch.
That was like a thing, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, that was like her iconic Swatch. You can have this now, Veronica. And Veronica like goes into the shower with all her clothes on. And I'm like, nice.
Weird little moment.
Not too bad. Winona Ryder.
She's not taking it so good that she was a participant in this murder, even though she had no real part in it. She was gaslit into it, and then gaslit into thinking she had participated, really.
It's just crazy that nobody else is acting like she is. Like,
it cured the bookish Heather's bulimia.
Yeah.
There's a scene earlier where she goes to the toilet to throw up, but now that boss Heather is dead, she's like, I don't need bulimia anymore. I'm going to eat this fried chicken.
Yeah, it's
Everyone's life is improved. It's a net positive gain for all the students.
Yeah, it is good if people commit suicide.
if boss Heather does.
Yeah, and teachers, is it the hippie teacher that's got the suicide note? The physical copy is a fucking suicide note.
Yeah.
We're going to pass this around class and everyone's going to read it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like a sharing circle. All the kids, this is where you see them, like, they're making a saint out of Heather now. They're like...
This was a step too far for me. I just got to say. I like this movie overall.
Yeah, it's a bit much, and like everybody's just exploiting it. Like there's the one guy's like, we used to date for a while. And
they're really nailing the point home. The point is that people are changing their attitude about Heather and the teachers are taking advantage of it and everything. But yeah, it is like really in your face. They're nailing it there.
That guy we used to date for a while, he's like, we used to go out and she thought I was boring. Now I realize she was just dissatisfied with her life.
And Veronica,
That's funny, man.
Veronica bursts out laughing at that, and the whole class like turns to her, and then she has to like fake like she was crying. It's good.
While that's going on,
when we meet Jason Dean's dad,
this total psychopath, they're hanging out at JD's place, and the dad comes in. They just off the bat have the most casual relationship. They're like, hey son, like they're pretending to be each other and be like, aren't you gonna introduce me to your new girlfriend, Dad?
Yeah. They're both very disdainful of each other too. I don't think they get along very well.
They have this ironic detachment to everything they say. Like everything is wacky banter between them. I'd rather be in like that movie Precious or something where like my mom is like beating me. Like this like rich looking passive aggressive. Oh man, it's hell. Whatever's going on here, I couldn't stand it for 10 seconds.
His dad owns like Bob's Building Company or something. They're a big construction company.
But they just destroy buildings seems to be their job.
Well, maybe they build stuff, but he really gets off on
that's why he got into the business for sure. He's in love with blowing up buildings, especially historical buildings that are very important. He's like, a bunch of hippies want to stop me from blowing up that tree in Minnesota or this historical building and
flush that turd, they said.
He's always trying to blow shit up, and then he's like, oh, want to stay for dinner? And my mom's making spaghetti. She bought oregano. and Christian Slater's like, oh nice, last time I saw my mom she was waving from a library window in Texas.
Yeah.
So she killed JFK is what he's getting at.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me. My family has a history of black ops.
I mean, it's funny, but is this movie overwritten?
Yeah.
You decide. I don't know.
Probably, but is that to its detriment?
I think it's mostly to its benefit.
I think, it's going for a thing here, and I didn't necessarily glom onto that for the first little while, so I was like, what exactly is this thing going for? But it becomes clear as things go along that, it's a very heightened reality. It's not how kids talk.
Black comedy is just a really hard line to toe.
Yeah.
Even the movies that do it great, I find, like this one, for the most part, it could really fall on its face really easily. Just as
tragedy's only funny if it's been a while, maybe at best, the best case scenario. And
I forget what that formula was. It's like tragedy plus comedy 10 years or
tragedy plus time equals comedy. Or plus time to the cubed root of.
We're not mathematicians, but
podcast partners are wicked smart.
Walk around with pocket protectors.
We're in the nerd clique.
So then then it's Heather One's funeral, and the priest is giving like, he's the cool priest. He's like, and Jesus, that righteous dude in the sky, Jesus Christ, he's looking out for you. He's just like, he's one of those hip pastors. He probably skateboards, or he would in a couple of years when it becomes cooler.
It's that pastor, you know who that is, right?
Yeah, I've
Glenn
seen him
fucking
in stuff.
Shadick.
Yeah, he's like
great.
Otho from Beetlejuice and stuff, right? He worked with Tim Burton a bunch of times.
Yeah. He was the mayor in Nightmare Before Christmas. He's in tons of stuff. Just a great character actor. He's so funny in this. Great in everything. I love him so much.
Oh, Demolition Man.
Another guy, he had a tragic end. He like slipped and fell and died tragically young, but like one of my favorite character actors.
Was it a banana peel? Did he go out? Did he at least make some laughs on the way out?
Make him laugh. Make him laugh.
The curse of Heather strikes again.
Oh no!
Some kind of karmic punishment for making such a devious black comedy.
These movies are fucking cursed.
I'm making my rounds on people who made my life a living hell on set.
Gonna make it look like an accident.
Glenn Shadix didn't like it when I called him an F word.
Yeah, put him in a half Nelson.
Yeah, we get a funny sequence where we get everyone's internal monologue as they're leaning over Heather One's casket.
Yeah, the jocks, it's like, why'd you have to kill such hot snatch? And some of the guys like, pray for us all as sinners so we don't get caught.
Shannen Doherty's like, I know I prayed for this, God, and I'm happy it happened, but don't hold that against me, please. But thank you for killing the boss, Heather.
In my notes here, this must come up right after this. I have Pud Whopper. What's up?
That's when Heather... Yeah, okay, so Heather 2... The other blonde is washing her face in the holy water, and then outside of the funeral, the jocks go up to the nerds, and they're like, hey, that Pud Whopper just stepped on my foot.
Right.
And the nerd's like, sit and spin, and gives them the
big
old
mistake.
Finger.
Yeah, because the jocks were kind of scared off of the nerds before, or they think that the jocks are now lower on the ranking because they were embarrassed in the cafeteria.
They've lost their social status. They need to make up for it now.
Yeah, you can't let any fucking D&D playing podcast making nerds take the swag away. Fuck no.
Our dozens of followers will dox you.
Spin on it.
Yeah, he tackles that guy down and he makes him say I like to suck big dicks. And he's like, you like to suck big dicks.
Big mistake number 2.
Yeah, but that's the best comeback. Yeah, that's the comeback.
Total respect on that kid.
Yeah.
James Dean drives by on his motorcycle.
You mean Jason Dean.
Oh, Jason Dean. Sorry, yeah, he's not named after anyone.
Yeah, the only name cooler than James Dean is Jason Dean.
Yeah, abbreviated as JD.
Always standing in the shadow of my brother.
He doesn't interfere in this bullying episode, though. He just kind of drives by and he's looking and
he eyes him up.
He's like the bullies clock him. They're like,
you just made the top of my list.
Yeah.
You do what Heather 2 does what you do outside of any funeral, and that's arrange a double date with the jocks who just, kick the shit out of some guy in the middle, outside of a church.
The jocks' plan worked. They've regained their social status through this beating.
Veronica doesn't want to go. She relents because she wants to be a good friend.
Yeah, she says, this better not be one of those dates where we just get drunk, get like blackout drunk, and then go to a cow pasture. And then it cuts immediately to them in a cow pasture. Like the dudes are totally drunk. They're trying to tip a cow over.
You guys ever tip cow?
Never tipped a cow, you?
No. It seems like something I would have done. No.
Yeah.
Talked about it a lot, but just didn't.
It seems like an activity that's been passed down through the ages.
It's right up there with mailbox baseball, which I will not. I don't think the statute of limitations is up yet, so I'm not going to incriminate myself on that. But
tampering with a mailbox is against the federal law, son.
They should have made a better mailbox, stronger.
You combine that with squashing pennies on a train tracks, you got yourself a life sentence, boy.
Guantanamo Bay.
One more, you're out. 3 strikes.
Send all the podcasters there. Think of the pods we can cast.
Man, guests every day.
They're tipping cows, and Kurt tips a cow. Kurt's one of the jocks' names. and
Yeah,
squirts
Kurt
a bunch
and
of
Ram.
Kurt and Ram. That's right. They knock a cow over, and it sprays a bunch of mud up in Veronica's face, and she leaves. And she's like, "Sorry, I'm just feeling a little bit superior tonight."
Does your Winona Ryder sound like Dustin Hoffman?
It's like a Silence of the Lambs serial killer. What do you think?
Or one and the same.
You think it'd be easier for us to do a Minnesota accent? It's so similar to the Canadian.
Sorry,
I'm just not feeling it tonight. No, that's Lorne Michaels.
just feeling a little bit superior tonight.
When I close my eyes, it's like
Does it sound like Winona Ryder's standing right here?
It's like she's in the room.
Fooled you because she's actually sitting.
You just got to do the Jesse Ventura voice.
It's the same voice.
It's the Minnesota accent.
Maybe Jesse Ventura's a bit louder, but Winona Ryder's the same voice.
Yeah, just a little softer.
Think Fargo and just go for it.
Veronica leaves. JD's just coming up, and he takes her home. Cut to the school paper. They're writing some slam story against Veronica, and people are saying word around school is that Kurt and Ram had a sword fight in Veronica's mouth.
Yeah, she turned the bully down, but the bully's spreading the rumor now that no, we actually had a group oral sex session.
This movie, it oscillates between stuff that's believable, high school rumor shit, and then absolutely wild shit.
Well, there's a point in this movie where it goes full Italian giallo almost, and it's entirely heightened reality, where there's a couple weird dream sequences, and all of a sudden you're getting weird Argento colored lighting, blue lighting and stuff, and it's okay, this movie that was where I really glommed on that. Okay, they weren't going for a realistic type
they're not
thing.
going for realism.
Yeah,
but tonally, it's difficult to stay on board with. I can see why it's a cult classic.
Yeah, it was a commercial flop, I think, when it came out.
It had to be.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I feel like most audiences would walk out of this movie.
Yeah. Well, and when it goes to that weird dream sequence later on, it seems more outlandish than everything else before, but not that much. It happens it seems a little weird, but I'll
plausible.
go with it. Yeah.
It's nuts. They hatch this plan to humiliate Kurt and Ram, the jocks, and they write a similarly sensitive suicide note.
Yeah, the jocks, the whole movie, they've been bullying people, and they made that nerd earlier say you want to suck dick or something, and then they're using the F slur earlier. So
nothing more embarrassing than being gay.
Veronica and JD put together this bag to implicate that they were gay after the suicide.
Mineral water.
Waters. That's the real smoking gun.
By the way, I'm sipping some Perrier right now.
Yeah.
We had no idea.
This is my coming out.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, well, mineral water, and it's a small town.
Yeah,
where
are they? Iowa?
This is Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio.
If you don't have a brewski in your hand, you might as well be wearing a dress.
Yeah.
Yeah. While they're packing this bag, JD's he's packing heat. And Heather's like, well, I don't want to shoot anybody. Gives him the bullets, and he calls. And before he does them, he's like, do you speak German? And she's like, no. He's like, these are Ich Luge bullets. They're from they're from World War II. My dad got them. All they do is they explode on impact, and they just leave a mark. And Ich Luge in German is I'm lying or I'm lying. So he told her everything she needed to know. She just willfully walked into this scenario.
Well, your days in the Hitler Youth really paid off today.
I still have my.
That's
I still
a cool
have
little
my
detail.
standard issue Ich Luge bullets.
It's for when they wanted the Germans to go to sleep instead of killing them. That happened all the time in World War II.
Just fall asleep.
She's not as gullible as she's playing here. I think she knows. So she meets them in the woods and convinces them to strip. And she's like, oh, you guys want to score with me, hey?
Do you actually want to have a sword fight in my mouth? Like you have the rumor you've been spreading around the school?
Yeah, and the guy's just so down for it. So they meet up, and she's like, I need you to stand in that circle over there. And I need you to go stand in that circle over there. And now we're all going to take our clothes off.
Very carefully staged, this fake suicide they're setting up. Has to go just right.
They start doing it, and then JD comes out of nowhere and shoots one of them in the chest. I forget which one. And Heather misses her shot, so then the other guy, he gives chase.
Yeah.
So JD's running him down, and he's gaining on him, and he's leading him this way and that, and then you find out that he's led him all the way back to
Back to the suicide circle. That was a convenient chase.
Yeah. And so Buddy runs right into the hula hoop or whatever, and Veronica pops him in the chest, and then that's when we cut to a couple of stoner cops who were just hanging out in the car, and this one guy's like,
some confiscated weed.
Both of these movies have cops smoking weed in their patrol cars.
That's true. So that's the connective tissue.
Could be a high... I was like, maybe that's the connection. A high movie and a low movie where cops smoke pot in their car.
There's a funny line where, when the second one goes off, it's like, I heard it that time. Like they heard the first shot, but they're not going to check it out.
Yeah, they throw the cops off their trail by running back to their car and quickly, like, kind of stripping half naked and making out. And then the cops are like, yeah, it was just a rabbit, that gunshot.
Yeah, and then they find him, and the one cop's like, suicide, but why? And then the other one lifts the bottle of mineral water out and says, does this answer your question?
Yeah, right away he says the F's.
Yeah,
that.
Oh, mineral water. The quarterback buggering the linebacker. What a waste.
Whatever that means.
They said it, not me.
It cuts back to a funeral. There's Otho from Beetlejuice. He's given he's the cool priest. He's giving the new sermon, and the jock's dad is crying over his body, and he's like, I love my gay son. I didn't know he was gay, but I love my dead gay son.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Veronica's feeling bad about it, and JD's like, Kurt and Ram had nothing to offer the school but date rapes and AIDS joke. This whole funeral, like the two guys, they're dressed up in their football gear, like they got their helmets on, and they're holding footballs. It's a pretty
yeah, they have a joint funeral where they're in their football gear. That's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on how weird that was.
Yeah. But the other big thing is, like, the actors in this movie are selling it. Like, in a B movie, they wouldn't be people like Glenn Shadix, like great actors. Like,
yeah,
the actors in this movie played completely straight, and it makes it funny.
Yeah,
unlike a certain other North movie.
Yeah,
like the principal's like, I've seen a lot of bullshit, angel dust, switchblades, sexually perverse photography sessions involving tennis rackets.
Yeah, he's just so intense about it.
Yeah, they're selling it. But like Miss Flem, I don't know, what's it, Fleming or something?
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
The kids call her Miss Flem.
Yeah, she's the bleeding heart.
Yeah, she's like trying to get everyone to lock hands with unity, and she's like, this is so great. Everybody's killing themselves.
Sharing circles and all this, and it's all very phony. They're in the cafeteria holding hands, and the one guy's like, make sure you get me a copy of this for my Princeton admission tape or whatever. It's all very insincere. Everyone's using this to enhance their own status.
Yeah, while this is going on, they like keep showing footage of Heather 3, Shannen Doherty. She's on the news talking about how this person was so important to her and that person was so important to her, and she's going from like camera crew to camera crew, and everybody's
really taking advantage.
Yeah, they're watching this footage of at JD's place, and they're having a talk. Veronica's like, everybody, it's chaotic, it's chaos, this is crazy, and JD's like, chaos is what scared the dinosaurs or killed the dinosaurs. And JD's into this new way of life. Veronica's not really into it, and then JD's dad just breezes in here, and he's all stoked because he's got his latest demolition tape. He comes in with his tape, and he's all excited.
The bitches.
Judge told him to slurp shit and die. JD just put a something in the basement, and that triggered all the other ones around.
Yeah, it's like one of those fancy historic buildings that he hates, that he loves seeing blow up so much. Yeah, Christian Slater's got like kind of a, that's cool, Dad thing going on.
Dad.
It turns out, I don't know if he reveals it a little later, but his mom, he suspects committed suicide.
Yeah, this is where we learn that. Like, she walked into a building that she knew was going to explode.
Yeah, her husband's true love, exploding buildings, and she used that as her suicide method.
Walked into it 2 minutes before my dad blew it up. She waved at me and boom.
Could be a lie. Who knows? He's been gaslighting Veronica a lot. Maybe he made the whole thing up.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to go.
And Veronica decides this is as good a time as any to break up with him. She doesn't want to go along with any more of his murders or anything like
He's
that.
He's like, our way is a real winner, babe. We got to keep doing it this way. And she's like, that's not our way. That's your way. I didn't intend to kill anyone. You tricked me both times.
Yeah, I've had girls break up with me for a lot less. Say that.
But you didn't have the sultry glare of a Christian Slater.
No.
And he's not having it. He blows up. He blows his top, and
so shades of his true self peeking through.
Yeah.
So right away, he's going over to Heather 3, that's Shannen Doherty, threatening to blackmail her with pictures.
Apparently, she used to be friends.
Yeah, with dump truck Heather, whatever.
Dump truck Martha.
Was it dump truck?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that detail. But yeah, it looked like they were being uncool. They were canoeing. Oh my God, canoeing. Can you imagine how uncool?
The cool kids croquet.
Yeah.
You don't go canoeing.
This could ruin Heather's reputation if this photograph got out.
I love the arbitrary lines of what's cool and what isn't.
It was a different time back then.
Yeah.
And so JD gives her the coveted red scarf. Basically encourages her to be the new bad, mean Heather 1. And
yeah, she can be the new boss Heather. She has to like throw away those bookish notions. No more reading Herman Melville, but she has to take up the mantle of boss Heather. She was green before. Everything she wore was green. The green croquet ball and her dresses were green. Now she gets to wear the red.
Just like the Power Rangers.
Yeah, exactly.
The leader wears red.
Yeah, until the white Power Ranger came in. Then he was kind of the leader.
I didn't go that far. I know everybody liked the Green Ranger the best.
they're the same one. Same guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he
that's
did go
right.
white.
Yeah. He was
That's
the Green
right.
Ranger first,
So
and then he was the
cool.
White Ranger in the movie. Or maybe he was in the show before. Right?
Yeah, I think he turned a little bit before the movie into the White Ranger.
So Veronica calls up her old dirty friend Betty. and
Betty has no self-esteem.
Poor Betty.
She's like, I know I'm boring and I'm ugly. And
Betty could be pretty.
She just got to take those glasses off.
Yeah.
And maybe take that ponytail out, too.
Yeah, totally.
You guys are like a couple of Heathers over here.
Maybe throw a little water on that dry T-shirt.
Smile sometimes, honey.
That's what I'd tell her.
But yeah, she's like movie ugly nerd, where she's actually a cute girl.
Yeah, and they're having this loaded conversation the whole time where, you know, Veronica's ball lands up against Betty's and she's like, you have to take me out. You just have to take me out.
Yeah,
Everything feels like it's dripping with subtext, but I don't entirely get what any of that was, but that was the tone of the conversation.
Kind of like you won't get anywhere in life being merciful. You have to take that croquet shot. Not knowing the rules of croquet, some of the croquet metaphor might have been lost on me. I was like, oh, is that like a game-winning shot or something that she's not taking?
Well, like I read the rules of croquet in preparation for this episode.
Now that's research. Whoa.
So apparently when you hit another person's ball, you get 2 shots, and one of them is where you hit the ball that you hit. You don't need to hit it in any particular direction, but usually you want to hit it out. So basically she's just telling her to keep playing the game according to the rules.
She's a square.
Seems like a boring game. I still think it's funnest just to whack balls around.
More of a bocce guy myself.
Oh,
Big time
bocce's
bocce
fun.
guy.
So we're getting scenes of Martha dump truck.
Yeah, she's just very sadly eating she's drinking a gigantic soda by herself.
Yeah,
in the
she spills
gym.
it on her shirt, and it's just like had enough.
Yeah, poor Martha. And she walks out right in front of a gosh darn bus.
Yeah, she's got her suicide note taped to her chest. You can kind of see it as she's walking towards the camera, and just walks right into traffic. She's not one of the cool kids, so this revelation doesn't meet the same results as the cool Heathers committing suicide or anything. People kind of laugh about it.
She didn't die.
Yeah, she's
that's
like
the joke. She couldn't even do it right.
Meanwhile, Miss Flem is like talking, oh, we're cleansing synchronicity of these deaths, and this is just like this great outpouring of emotion. Like
she's like a pig in shit. She's in her element with all these suicides going on.
she's like encouraging it.
It's the only way for those kids to get in touch with their emotions.
It's getting more and more ridiculous too, as JD, initially it came into play that Veronica's such a master hand signer that she can forge suicide notes and stuff like that, but eventually they just start to realize that, nobody actually cares about those details. Everybody is so ready to just jump on and take advantage of this situation and use it for their own means. And the teachers are all, especially that hippie one, she's getting what she wants out of it.
Heather too, she's not feeling so great about this like everybody else is. She's calling into some douchebag radio show, self-help
Big
show.
Provs, the radio show
Yeah.
hosted by the dog catcher.
He sounds pretty cool, not gonna lie. I'd listen to his show.
Yeah, I'd listen to this guy
He'll be
today.
on the pod next week.
Yeah.
She's pouring out her problems.
They're
and
actually pretty bad. I never thought about them until she mentioned them, but one of the jocks was the last person she slept with. She was the one on the date with Veronica out at the cow pasture earlier, so she actually slept with one of the jocks, and she's like, the last guy I slept with killed himself, and this happened, and my best friend killed herself, and
yeah,
it's
and
like,
who
oh
does she
shit.
have to talk to
Yeah.
about
the
it?
dog catcher.
Yeah.
Everybody else is so up their own ass.
Yeah, Mean Heather and Veronica are in the room listening to this, and Mean Heather, the new Mean Heather, former bookish Heather, she's gonna spread this as a rumor at school the next day and ruin other Heather's reputation. Not an ounce of sympathy.
Yeah, they're being bitches. Heather, too, leaves class, and she just, like, goes into the bathroom and stuffs a bunch of pills in her
It's
mouth.
like 100 pills.
Just
in
a
her mouth.
huge mouthful.
It's a pretty funny image when she turns around and she's just like a
so many
chipmunk.
pills. Yeah. They're just pouring out of her mouth. Veronica's like, is no one checking on her? Like, what the fuck? And
Because everybody knows that it was her who phoned into the show. Like, everybody in the whole town knows that she's depressed now.
Yeah, and they're all just like glad that she's clearly going to commit suicide.
Another Heather down.
Yeah, she actually seemed like one of the cooler Heathers. I think she was my favorite of the Heathers.
Yeah, she's so cool. I wish she'd like sit on it and spin around like a pinwheel.
Sit on it,
Easy
and
Ram. or is that you, Kurt?
Sorry, I can't help it. I'm just such a cool jock. So yeah, Veronica stops her and then talks her down, and then they leave school and they go to buy shoes. Aw,
That's nice.
nice to see something nice in this movie that's just so overwhelmingly bleak.
That'll solve it all.
Cut to later that day, later that night, they're at Veronica's house. Veronica comes in and she finds out that JD's been by. He came and told her parents that he's very worried about her. She was talking about suicide, and then she goes up to her room, or JD leaves her a note or something. She gets a note from him and she realizes that he can forge her handwriting.
Yeah.
So now she's starting to feel very threatened by this guy.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
he's basically implicitly saying he's gonna kill her. Yeah, she finds the hanged Barbie doll in her room with the noose around its neck. Yeah, it's pretty clear she's next on the list.
She gets one over on him. She ties a bedsheet around her neck and her waist, but we don't see this. She pretends to kill herself, and JD comes in and starts monologuing. It's like, oh, we could have been something. We were gonna burn the school down. We're gonna roast marshmallows on the cinders.
In classic villain fashion, he gives away the whole plan, his master plan. Now he's been getting the new Mean Heather to circulate this petition around the school and get everyone's signature on it, and he's going to now attach a letter to it, a mass suicide note that the whole school has signed through this petition, where it's like, we as a school wanted to kill ourselves and blow ourselves up in the auditorium or whatever. He reveals all this in a monologue to what he thinks is a dead hanging body. Lucky for us, the audience.
She's fine. Like, her mom comes up, she's making spaghetti. She comes into her room and
Got the oregano again.
That's the good shit.
it was on sale at Ralph's. She tries to stop JD from going to kill Heather Duke.
She was just curled up on the bed after finding the hanging doll and realizing that JD was going to kill her. And so, first it goes into the dream sequence where JD comes in through the bedroom window and they go to her house and he grabs a knife. This is where the movie goes full giallo, and it's turning into a slasher movie, basically.
Yeah, it's very giallo. Like, he has like the kitchen knife and it's all shiny, and we see her looking at her own reflection in the knife.
Yeah, very spooky.
Special guest director Dario Argento.
Just popped in for a scene.
They go through like a whole fake funeral scene in this dream sequence.
Everybody's wearing these cool hip glasses. They look like the old school 3D glasses, but they're just like regular sunglasses with the big white frames.
Yeah, with the paper glasses with the blue and the red. JD's whole plan is he's got Mean Heather's version of Moby Dick, and he's been like meaningfully going through the book and underlining words as part of his suicide note that he's gonna plant for her. And he just like underlined Eskimo. He's like, I'll just underline the word Eskimo. Everyone's gonna impart such deep meaning into this.
This goes on, and then at the funeral, Heather 1 shows up, and Veronica's there, and she's like, oh, there's like the turnout's gone way down. There was way more people at my funeral. And then Veronica wakes up and it was a dream, and she decides that she's gonna fake JD out by hanging herself. And
yeah, that's where it gives the whole game away. And he's got access to all kinds of dynamite, as we've seen earlier, because his dad is a man who happens to be obsessed with blowing up buildings. So
he knows just how to do it.
That's lucky when you go full Columbine and you're going to blow up your school.
Veronica has to stop him.
Yeah, and again, kind of a giallo thing, having a female protagonist hero. Was it Jennifer Connelly in Phenomena, something like that? Kind of that kind of trope.
Yeah, and so they're doing like an assembly in the gym.
Yeah.
Or is it a pep rally?
I think it's a big pep rally.
It's a pep rally, but like still the fucking teacher is like, whether to kill yourself or not is one of the most important decisions a teenager can make.
Again, stealing like a how to do it pamphlet or something almost.
I get that it's a joke and like it's kind of funny, but like what are these barbs like aimed at?
Teenagers are just so gullible; they'll follow any trend, man.
Yeah, I could see with I guess some of the teachers being real stupid. Maybe it's like society as a whole.
It's the natural extension. They even say it earlier on, where it's like if Heather one walked off a bridge, would you do it? And the other Heather's like, probably. Like, it's just the natural extension of of that.
I don't know. The satire just seems kind of aimless, and to me,
when JD's going over his plan with Veronica to blow up the school, he's kind of like, once I blow up the school, the entire world will realize that society didn't make the school blow up. The school blew up because it's society. It's just so cool, JD.
It's like the fucking Joker movie.
It's really chaos. It's all about chaos and anarchy. Did your schools do pep rallies?
Oh, fuck no.
No.
That's an American thing.
That's such a weird thing.
That's got to
so rah-rah, sis,
I
boom,
can't
bah.
imagine. Or maybe they did, but I surely
Just smoking
wasn't
pot
there.
Yeah.
on the baseball diamond.
Yeah. I was definitely smoking weed and skipping school. I don't know.
I don't recall any pep rallies.
No, we didn't believe in pep in our school.
We had a football team and a basketball team, and I'm sure some people were very proud of their athletic accomplishments. I never saw any of it.
It's just not as big a thing here as it is in the States, in some places.
No, nobody
High
cares.
school
about
athletics.
Yeah.
WESTERBURG.
Is that their pep rally chant?
Yeah.
God.
That makes me feel peppy.
Just waiting for Christian Slater to put them all out of their misery.
So yeah, Veronica is going around the pep rally and she's looking for JD and asks the nerd Rodney, "What's underneath the gym?"
It's a Freddy Krueger style boiler room.
Yeah, totally.
Just right under the gym.
It's like the scene in Game of Thrones where they plant all the fucking explosions.
Yeah, get rid of everyone in one fell swoop. You've got the boiler room there to take care of business. I don't know. Would a boiler room help an explosion be bigger? I feel like it must.
I think the thing is he wants to set it off in the basement, and that's going to trigger all the other charges that he planted everywhere else. It's the same technique his dad used to blow up that building. It's his trademark. It's his calling card.
Same technique they used to kill Jack Frost in the slasher.
Had to lure him into the boiling room.
Didn't work then, and it doesn't work here.
Oh, I see your school's pretty rich. You got a what is that? A four Dracula boiler?
You'd fit a lot of Draculas in that boiler. She gets down to the boiler room and she's got a big fucking hand cannon and she gets the drop on JD as he's planting the TNT. "You gotta stop what you're doing." He's like, "You didn't say Simon Says." And he just like knocks her out.
Yeah, she gets way too close.
I'm a total villain now.
Yeah, the mask has dropped. He's a psycho slasher villain now at this point.
Yeah, they have a bit of a scuffle and he does knock her out, and then he's setting the timers for like 2 minutes. It's not nearly enough time.
Mm-hmm.
Is he planning to kill himself here? I don't think so.
I wasn't clear if he had that vest on the entire time or if he puts that on after his main plan fails, but his main plan to blow up the school.
Maybe he just always has one on.
Just in case.
Like I do.
Yeah.
Just in case.
You never know. You get cornered.
It's the best way to get to the front of a line at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Just kind of lift your coat up a little bit. These aren't hot dogs strapped to my chest.
Ring it through.
Well, if I ever find myself at a pep rally by accident, I'll be covered.
You just never
I
know.
One way out of here.
There's only one solution for this type of rabid fandom.
We're all going to hell tonight.
Life takes us in strange directions.
H-E-L-L tonight. And so Veronica's not down for the count. She gets up, she grabs a fire extinguisher, and she's gonna go. JD's like, "What are you gonna do? Like, you're not gonna shoot me or anything." And then she blows his middle finger right off. And he has some monologuing before she shoots him again.
They're playing a little game of like hide and seek in the boiler room. He kind of disappears amongst the pipes, and she's got like it's like an X-Files episode. She's walking through it with the gun in the boiler room trying to find him. And
shot pretty good.
This is where they got some giallo lighting too. Like when he's working on the bomb, there's just for some reason he's all bathed in blue light. Like I don't know where it's coming from, but it looks pretty cool.
Oh, blue light. That must be like a 6 Dracula boiler.
Kills bacteria, blue light.
That's an add-on extra.
Well, this is the school that Heathers went to.
Yeah, she stops the bomb plot and then gets out of the school.
Yeah.
She shoots him. She finally does shoot him. I think he was under some delusion that, like, she's in love with him, so he's not going to be able to pull the trigger on him. But
this has worked in my last 7 schools.
Yeah.
But rookie mistake. She only shoots him once.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, she should have executed him.
Of course, he's going to do the Jason Voorhees and come back one last time. But he's not really coming back to try and stop her.
Classic slasher trope. He pops up again one last time, like the villain in a slasher.
She's just like sitting outside the school, like relieved that she stopped him. And he's like, "You got the power, V. The slate is clean." And he's got a bomb strapped to his chest and he arms it and gives it like 30 seconds. And he's like, "Pretend I blew up all the schools."
Yeah, what would you do? And she pulls out a smoke and lights it up and kind of shrugs.
She doesn't light it. She waits for him to explode. Yeah. She just stands
Pretty
there
badass.
staring at him. And you don't see him explode. It cuts to inside the gymnasium and everybody's like, "What the fuck was that?" And then you just see her looking outside and her smoke is lit and she looks like Daffy Duck when he gets shot or something. She's all like covered in soot.
Yeah.
She goes back into the school. She's the new boss now. She like goes up to the boss, Heather, and takes the red hair tie that indicates leadership, puts it on herself, and she's like, "There's a new sheriff in town."
And then she goes off.
Sheriff in town. That's something teenage girls always say.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Maybe in Minnesota, that's a big saying.
Isn't the sheriff the coolest kid in school in Minnesota?
Sheriff Marge.
So then she shuffles over the hallway. She sees Martha Dump Truck. She's in some sort of like wheelchair scooter type thing. And Shay, that's a really nice shirt you got there. Maybe do you want to go to the dance with me if you're not taking anybody to the prom? Do you want to go to the dance with me?
I'm not going to the prom either. Why don't we eat popcorn at home? And then Martha's like, "That sounds real nice."
And she's so
real
happy.
nice.
It's a nice ending where,
Yeah, the credits roll over them just in the distance.
I feel good for Martha Dump Truck.
Veronica took pity on her, and
And you know what? Maybe it worked out for Veronica too. Well, she always felt bad for she didn't want to bully her, and
she preferred her old friends for before she became a Heather.
Well, if Martha makes it to the 2020s, being a dump truck and having a dump truck ass is considered a good thing now.
she's going to be
Times
in
have
all
changed.
sorts of music videos.
Yeah, man. She'll have her pick of the litter. They'll be all over her.
That was Heather's. I think we're going to take a short little break, and then we'll be right back to discuss 1978's Laserblast, unless there was... All right.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Welcome back. We're here to talk about 1978's Laserblast. We're covering Michael Ray's entire filmography today on High and Low as we discuss the only movie that he ever directed.
It shows that he had another one on Letterboxd. It's called like Sci-Fi Battle or something like that. It's weird. It's one of those movies that nobody in the world has seen. It's got 3 ratings on Letterboxd and it's got no reviews. It might as well have not exist. You wonder if maybe it was like a figment of someone's imagination and they put it up on there.
You're contradicting IMDb trivia right now. This is hot. This is a breaking news story.
Whoa, what does IMDb have to say about it?
That this is the only movie he ever did. Maybe it was the only feature length. I don't know, but
Well, like, yeah, I mean, I saw that on Letterboxd and just how obscure it is, and I was wondering, it must be like maybe it's something that aired on TV one time, and some guy has it recorded or
Probably
something.
some college film or something he made with his buddies.
well, now we need to find it
It has
and cover it.
a list of a few
Absolutely.
different directors.
If we can find it.
Oh, I added it to my watch list.
You psychopath.
It's called Sci-Fi Slaughter. It's from 2005.
Oh, the title says it all. I'm in.
It's got a really cool poster. It's like a weird, like multicolored thing, but it's got multiple directors.
That poster looks like dog shit.
It looks very colorful. It doesn't give you confidence that it's a good movie looking at this poster at all.
Absolutely, I'd watch that.
I think it's safe to say that today we're covering Michael Ray's total full-length filmography.
His most beloved film.
Speaking of IMDb, this movie has a 2.8 rating. Fuck off. Like,
Pull your
half
head out
the
of your
people
ass.
didn't watch this movie. They probably saw that it was covered on MST3K and were like, that's obviously a 0 or a 1 or whatever. Like, this movie is better than a lot of Hollywood movies I've seen. Better than like 30% of the movies we've covered on this podcast so far. And it's not good, but
No. Is it good? No.
It's not.
Is it entertaining? 100%.
Yeah.
I think it is one of those movies that kind of caught in people's minds, probably because it was on MST3K, that it's like one of those like go-to bad movies. So people who don't watch a lot of bad movies probably watched it and were like, yeah, this is the worst piece of shit that ever was created.
They
This
haven't
movie
seen
has
North.
like some real talent behind it. Not North level A-list talent, but like the people in this movie, there's a lot of them that have done other good things.
Charles Band produced this. He's kind of a Roger Corman figure in the B-movie world.
Yeah.
He owned Fullmoon Features, which they've released like hundreds and hundreds of bad movies, all kinds of varying quality. Some of them are pretty horrible. But I think this was before Fullmoon Features was a thing, even though their production company logo is at the beginning of the version of this I watched anyway.
Yeah, for B movies, you could do a lot worse
Yes.
than this, I would say.
It has a story. It has a clear story that's easy to understand. There's no glaring potholes or anything like that. There's a low production value, but it has it where it counts. There's lots of explosions. I really like the stop motion aliens. Those
look
guys
awesome.
were fucking awesome.
This movie
The
is
cast are actually not too bad. There's a few good actors.
I'm just going to read some trivia that is awesome from IMDb on this in regards to the cast. Roddy McDowall agreed to be in the film when he heard that they wanted a well-known name in the cast to help sell the movie.
He's first billed on the stuff I
Yeah.
looked at.
McDowall said he'd play a
I
small
was
role
expecting-
for $300, which he used for car repairs, and
Car repair. Well, I do need to fix my transmission.
his car was one of the ones that got blown up by the laser in the movie.
sees how you've blown up my car. I guess I'll be in your movie.
Yeah, that's their go-to in this movie. This movie is like 10 pretty good explosions and one really great explosion masquerading as a movie in a way, and some really good stop-motion aliens.
Yeah.
That, well, really good might be debatable, but they're really cool.
When the only tool you have is a laser blaster, there's going to be some explosions.
Yeah, and it's always cars except for a couple scenes.
We'll get to those later.
How much did this movie cost?
Can you even
Every
find
bit
that?
of that budget had to be on TNT. It's incredible. All that money's on screen.
There's good explosions in this.
The explosions look rad as hell.
Pretty good makeup.
Yeah.
The script could have used a little work in terms of some of the
Sure.
dialogue. It wasn't doing these actors a lot of favors, but
The script sucks.
as a B movie, it hits the notes it needs to hit. It's got its 10 really good explosions. It's got its crazy aliens. Pretty cool looking spaceship.
Let's get into it. So there's the opening credits. See everybody, and then, with the hammer, they got Roddy McDowall. So whenever that comes up, I know that I'm having a good time because he's come up a couple times in the show already, and I think he's going to be like, if anybody wants to chart the actors who are in our movies, Roddy McDowall is going to be right at the fucking
Specifically
top.
the lows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the patron saint of the Low podcast.
Gun for hire.
He always needs car repairs.
He's got a good
Get a new car, Roddy.
like
I like my 64 Buick Skylark.
he's the good guy to play your scientist in a movie or something like that. He's got like an actor face. I was really looking at him in this movie and I'm like, he's not Brad Pitt, but he looks like an actor and
Pretty handsome.
Yeah.
He can emote.
And he gives it his all in the performance, which is always, it sticks out even more in a weird way when it's like a shitty movie.
He's English, right?
Yeah.
Or Scottish or something.
Yeah.
Kind of like Donald Pleasance, where he'll show up in any fucking movie for 10 minutes or whatever.
Maybe a
5
Cameron
minutes.
Mitchell, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Donald Pleasance is another one. Probably number 2. Or,
Yeah.
He's going to be,
Or number 1.
he'll be an old friend by the time this project comes to an end.
Yeah, when we're all dust, you'll still be listening to back episodes from our catalog where we're talking about Donald Pleasance and Roddy McDowall. The movie opens with a guy. He's kind of looks like a zombie. He's all fucked up looking. Looks kind of like the Evil Dead Deadite makeup in the first movie. Like
I was thinking a little bit
decent.
of like Reagan and The Exorcist exorcist type greenish tinge
really
with the
pale
fangs under her eye.
Yeah.
Definitely a zombie look. He looks like a ghoul. It's pretty good makeup. The makeup effects are decent in this
Yeah, it's
too.
okay.
Within the first 20 seconds after the credits or something like that, these aliens, these little ET looking motherfuckers just come out of this, not quite a flying saucer. It kind of looks more like a Romulan warbird, that type of shit.
Which Mark, bro?
Wahlberg. I'm flying my I'm flying my Mark Wahlberg, Romulan warbird.
These guys look like turtles, right? They're supposed to be turtles, these aliens, I figured. I don't know.
Kind of like
but
turtles. I think they ripped
that's a
their
good
design off.
Yeah, turtles with no shells.
with no shell.
Kind of a good comparison because I was trying to think of how to describe them to somebody who hasn't seen them.
They are kind of the beginning of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie before they're grown up. When they first start standing, they kind of look like that.
I love that.
Nice stop motion.
They don't have like sharp looking teeth or anything. They kind of have like cute faces.
They look pretty harmless. They have laser blasters. They talk in this alien language, which is never translated, which I kind of like.
I always know exactly what they're saying too. It kind of sounds like backward English, but also like barks and quacks and stuff.
It's sort of a Darmok and Jalad, that episode of Star Trek where Picard has to encounter the alien he can't communicate with. We know what they're saying, even though they're not, they get chewed off by their boss.
When the walls fell?
Is that what it's called? Yeah. Shaka when the walls fell. Yeah. Darmok and Jalad at Montego, whatever he says. Classic.
When the walls fell.
Darmok and Jalad. Watido.
They see this guy and they immediately just blast him and incinerate him. So like within 30 seconds of this movie starting, there's aliens and there's a guy who's just like turned into not even a skeleton. He's just turned into a pile of ash.
It's a pretty lame gunfight. I don't know what's going on here because we'll see what this laser cannon is capable of, but he kind of just pings the aliens. It's kind of like pew pew. It doesn't hurt them at all, and then they just incinerate him.
Yeah, it's not the like gunfight from Heat.
No.
This gun it's like a
he
toy
has a
to
big
them.
laser.
Yeah.
They're not the smartest tools in the shed though, because they don't pick up the laser gun.
And they suck at their job.
Fucking morons.
They're the
and they get
equivalent of-
chewed out by their boss too.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well, they're like the equivalent of the pot-smoking cops we meet later.
Yeah.
They're just there to have a good time, toast some people, and
Cruise through space. They don't pick it up at the end either.
no, exactly. They suck at their job.
Yeah, they're not following the prime directive.
No.
They just leave their fucking technology laying there just carelessly.
Peace
They're
out.
so dumb.
If they were backpackers, they'd be the shittiest hikers ever because they're not following the pack it in, pack it out mentality.
Yeah, leaving their trash
They're-
everywhere.
Exactly. And of course, once one of us gets it, then we turn feral and just start blowing up the whole damn town.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't interfere with the native wildlife.
Exactly.
Basic
God, that's
principle.
what this movie's trying to say. This guy's just a pile of ash, and then we cut to Billy Duncan's place. And he's got a haircut like he's from kind of like the mid-'90s Home Improvement era. He could be one of the Tim Allen's
He's
kids.
a hunk.
He's
He's got blonde hair. He's jeans on,
shirtless
and no
most
shirt.
of the time, or at least open.
Yeah, he's
shirtless
pretty
or
hunky.
open. Yeah.
People keep making a Star Wars comparison with this movie. Like, Laserblast was meant to capitalize on Star Wars.
100%. People want
Charles Band said, this was my attempt to make my Star Wars. And there's nothing about this movie that really is reminiscent of Star Wars other than it's a sci-fi movie. But this guy does kind of look like knockoff Mark Hamill in this, sort of. I kept getting that vibe looking at him. He's got like blue eyes and the same Mark Hamill haircut in this. But he was a good actor in his own right. Guy was in musical theater a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
He met a
Superstar.
tragically
Kim
young
Milford,
end.
is his name. He was a big Broadway guy. We don't get to hear him sing in this movie or see him dance. Which
No.
is a shame.
No, the music isn't almost entirely Casio, demo.
Richard Band, Charles Band, the producer's brother, did the score on this. It's like,
Don't say.
synthesizer. Yeah. He did a lot of the Fullmoon Features.
You don't say the
movies.
producer's brother made the soundtrack for this
A
movie.
little bit of nepotism.
You can tell it's a guy who has sunglasses on and has been up all night, just hammering away on his Casio keyboard.
if his brother was-
lines.
If his brother were more successful, his name would be Frank Stallone.
All his music kind of sounds like elevator music version of more popular music. I don't know. This is like an elevator version of like Wendy Carlo or something. Some kind of synth music.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Billy
he wakes up. Billy wakes up and his mom is filling her car with luggage.
It's a very awkward encounter.
and there's a lot of luggage. And she's like, I'm going off to Acapulco. I got another invitation. And he's like, another one? And she's like, yep, okay, bye.
How many? She's always like, how many times you want to go to Acapulco? Till they stop asking me, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like she's just like,
he's way too old to be upset about his mother going on a vacation too. Like he looks mid to late 20s to me, maybe here.
Yeah. He has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
What does he care?
They're pretty serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he looks older than he's cast. I think they're supposed to be high school kids, but he's definitely older than that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's throwing a pout tantrum because his mom's going to Acapulco, and it's like, why is this old man upset about that?
well, okay, the weird thing is she wasn't expecting him to know about it until she left. Like she was like, she's trying to sneak out, and that's kind of weird.
Just tell your fully grown son that you're leaving for Mexico. It's
She
fine.
didn't want to leave him pizza money or something like that.
You're gonna have to microwave your own dinner, honey.
So he decides to go for a drive around in his sweet ass van.
Yeah,
His old
he's
Chevy.
Old enough to have a shaggin' wagon that he drives around
It's got some
town.
big Sasquatch type footprints up and down.
And we talked about the music. You said that's the score, but also the diegetic music in this movie is that same music. So he like turns on the radio and it's this like knockoff 70s prog funk.
And there is kind of a weird quality to this
It's all
movie
instrumental.
that comes out of like the cheapness, I think, where you'll hear like a lot of when they're outdoors, you'll hear outdoor noises and stuff. It's like it's very non-professional. It gives it this like weird surreal quality, though. I don't know.
I like it. Everything is a signifier. Like nothing is bona fide.
Yeah.
It's
You got all the fides, you got the signifieds and the bona fides.
Yeah.
It's like impressionistic in that kind of B movie way where your imagination kind of has to fill in the blanks.
It's
I'm just
avant-garde.
I'm picturing the
real
coolest Hep song that's
smart.
playing on the radio.
Exactly.
That's what
You
makes this
fill in
movie
the blank.
timeless.
So he's going off to see Kathy, which is his girlfriend, played by Cheryl Rainbow Smith.
Yeah, I guess she's something of a
Yeah, she's
B
been in
movie
lots
or
of B movies and I've seen her in lots of stuff. She's really beautiful.
I think this was her first one, and she's not super into it. She didn't think they had a great script to work with.
Well, she was right about the script.
She's got her perspective as an actress. 10 pretty good explosions wasn't exactly what she looks for in a script, but
I guess not.
She also died tragically young.
Yes.
She was a heroin addict.
oh no,
Hey, are we having fun?
So
yeah,
Billy goes to Kathy's place. She's not around, but this old fucking crazy Colonel Farley is. He's just kind of unhinged, and he's like, "You're just like them white collar guys down at Cherry Point. Operation Sandust. Hush, hush. Everybody connected with it. Hush, hush."
You guys with your disguises and tricks.
This guy I'm reading like they live next to Area 51 or something like that, and people know that there's aliens around or something. But
he's like the Quaid brother in what's that one, Independence Day, where
Randy
he's like
Quaid.
he's had interaction with aliens. It doesn't actually.
He's like Randy Quaid in real life.
Yeah, just a crazy paranoid nut. I think he's supposed to be a comic relief character, but he's not especially funny.
No,
No,
and the
he's
thing is,
supposed to be right because he knows what's actually going on because there is a cover up with the aliens. And
That's
stuff.
true.
Yeah,
But
and he knows the guy. Yeah,
But he's Kathy's grandpa.
they play it it makes me feel so bad for him because at first it's like, oh, this old guy's he's a loony. But then she comes out and she's like, "Come back inside, Grandpa." And like the way he plays it's like, oh, he actually is losing his mind or something like that. And
he was a colonel in the army, and he always wears his colonel jacket with like the full medals on it and everything. But he's wearing like pajamas underneath.
There are a lot of like ex-army guys who are like, "Yeah, I saw UFOs and stuff."
Yeah.
And people like think that's like really convincing evidence.
it turns out it was just Maverick testing his latest fighter jet or something.
Fastest man
Yeah,
alive.
hit the new record.
He kicks him out. He kicks Billy out. He's like, you leave Kathy out of this. You leave. And Billy gets out of there and Kathy comes out and ushers him back in. So then Billy's just going down the highway. And then we meet these two burnout cops who are bragging about how they...
Hick cops from the
The
country.
Deputies.
There's the big bearded one and the little one, and they're always doing a little comedy bit with each other.
Well, like the little one's always doing something. In this case, he's smoking a joint, but later on he's eating a hamburger. And then the big one's just at first chastising him. He's like, "Oh, don't you know we'll get kicked off the force?" And then eventually he just relents and it turns out that he wants it too, and he just bogarts the joint or the burger or whatever it happens to be.
The tamale.
Or the tamale. That's gonna give you gut rot. And then Billy
Tamales
just
are good.
blows by them, going like 30 miles an hour, and then They act like he's fucking
Yeah.
speed racer just tearing down the track.
Most action they've seen in months.
Yeah, the big cop has a southern accent, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
No one else has that.
I don't know if it was a choice. It might have just been one showed up.
True enough.
to shoot that
Here's a
day.
southern guy. The whole movie takes place in the desert. Probably pretty cheap to film there. Lots of scrub brush and lots of long desert scenes.
Lot.
No dune, but pretty close.
This is a real desert. This is what the real desert looks like. None of that fake ass dune.
They get Billy for a speeding ticket, then he leaves, and then they're baked.
The big sheriff is like, "How's your mama doing these days, boy?" So I was wondering if his mom's like a high class escort or something.
100%. That's why
maybe?
she's going to
Like-
Acapulco.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Totally.
They never explicitly say it.
She's
I don't
going
know. The
'cause-
way the sheriff is like, your mama has a reputation. There,
Acapulco
boy.
may as well be Epstein's Island. She's just going off for some whatever
Yeah.
whatever people are paying her for.
The modern equivalent might be Dubai. Like, OnlyFans model going to Dubai.
I'm so naive. Thought she was just gonna go have a nice time with her girlfriends.
So maybe Billy does have a right to feel a little out of sorts about things. I don't know.
If the local cops are razzing you about your mom, man, that sucks.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Poor Billy. I wish both he had a laser blaster, but alas. They try to treat him like he's a schmuck or a loser, but I don't know. He's got a pretty good life. He's got his own van. He's
Yeah.
good-looking guy. He's got a hot girlfriend. He gets
Yeah.
to go to like the popular kids' parties later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like that much of a loser to me.
So I don't know what his big deal is, but they give him a ticket and he's all complaining, and then they're gonna leave, and then they kind of like fuck around and cause like a big pileup because they're so stoned.
Yeah, they do the classic thing where they're like, "Okay, it's time to go now," and they like pull out onto the highway and cut off this car, and it rolls.
Pretty good. Man, there's some good car stunts in this.
They
Like,
wreck some cars.
I was
car rolls.
impressed. I was
Yeah.
like, right off the bat, I've seen kick-ass fucking stop-motion aliens and a car getting rolled over and blown up and shit. I'm like,
That must have been the budget for this movie.
you don't get any of this in modern movies, and I miss it.
No.
Tip a car over. Have a barbarian brother throw a plane over on its back, and I'm having
Yeah.
a good time.
So Froggy and Chuck we meet now. That's these two freaks that drive up and they're cruising around the gas station just taunting Billy.
They're a dynamic duo. I guess they're bullies, but one of them is like total stereotypical movie nerd too.
He
So.
is stereotypical movie nerd. He's Eddie Deason.
Why
Oh,
are these
Eddie
guys
Deason.
bullying Billy?
Well, that's the thing. He's getting
Where are
dunked
their-
on by people should be bullying them.
Where are their bitches?
They challenge him to a race. They're like, "You want to race, Billy?" And then the other one's egging him on, like, "No, Billy doesn't like to race." Billy's like, "Who told you that? I like to race." And
His van doesn't even start.
Pathetic.
He's a dork. But yeah, one of them is Froggy. He's played by Eddie Deason. He's a nerd in a lot of stuff.
Eddie Deason was the nerd in Grease.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Probably the only actor to return for Grease too.
very far? He's that guy,
Tell
probably.
me more. Yeah, I don't even think he gets to
No,
sing
he's not
with
even
the,
a
with
greaser
the,
in Grease.
he's just like he's on the school newspaper or something.
He's got a good nerd look. And so they kind of make a total fool of Billy, and they go, and then Billy's all put out, and he has to go to his thinking spot in the middle of the desert. And so he's just kind of sitting in his van, and it's like, oh, I just wish that I had something to help me out with my woes. And what's that behind that sagebrush?
He finds the laser gun, and again, you could tell that the role was written much younger than he is, because he starts having like a fantasy laser fight in the desert with the gun, and he's like pretending he's shooting soldiers, and
Yeah, he's going pew 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 pow pow pow.
it's like, I'm a soldier.
So what's
And this goes on for a while.
it goes on for a
Yeah.
while, and the reason he finds the laser gun is he was drinking a refreshing Coca-Cola, and he throws it off, and then it just blows this Coke bottle to
Didn't make any
smithereens.
sense. but
No.
Okay.
And then his first thing is he picks it up. He's like, pew pew. Like,
Yeah.
are you touching that thing if you find that in the desert? Like,
It
if
blew
something
up
just
my
randomly
bottle.
blows something up, like shoots a fireball, are you gonna?
It's
Touching
boring.
it. I'm doing everything.
Yeah, it looks like a big fleshlight. It's
say
got-
what's this hole for?
like a weird looking gun. You have to slide your arm into this long tube in order to use it. When it's in the first scene and you see that alien, I thought it was just like a prosthetic arm. I didn't realize it was a laser gun. It's like no gun you've ever seen before.
But it has incredible destructive power. It's not too long before Billy finds out that in order to actually use it, he needs to put on this special amulet. Once he's wearing the amulet, then he can start blasting things and making fireballs.
Yeah, it seems to be some kind of power cell. It's not clear how it makes the gun work.
They never fully explain it. They never get into it. They don't get into the deal of what this weird alien is that like uses the laser or what's really happening to Billy. There's tantalizing hints.
Yeah,
I don't need to know.
What I need is this teenager finding a laser blaster and then going on a rampage, and that's exactly what happened.
Putting on that necklace that looks like truck nuts.
yeah, a single
like
truck nut.
A black nut sack hanging around
there.
his neck.
Did either of you ever read Tommyknockers by Stephen King? I think he was big time inspired from this because kind of the premise for that is this woman unearths part of a flying saucer, like a spaceship in her backyard, and she just like becomes enchanted by it, and she needs to like keep digging out more and more of it. And as this is happening, her body starts to change, and she like starts to become one of the aliens that
interesting.
originally piloted the flying saucer.
Sure.
And I was thinking of that Neil Blomkamp movie, District 9. Isn't that like the plot of that movie too? Like he finds an alien weapon, sprays gas in his face, and it starts turning him into one of the aliens.
One of the prawns.
It came out almost.
I feel like I've seen this trope once or twice in sci-fi. I don't know if I'd call it a trope, but I've seen that kind of body horror element a few times before.
I think they all owe a debt of gratitude to Laserblast.
Yeah, basically where he wears the medallion, where it hangs down on his chest, I think. He starts getting a rash there. It starts out as a rash.
It starts out as a rash, and then eventually turns into this weird hard shell plate thing. Starts to grow out of his chest. That happens later. First,
so
it's
he
just
finds
a little rash.
Kathy, his girlfriend, finally, and they go for like a picnic or something on a blanket. They're just kind of laying.
She says something that makes no sense. She's like, "Isn't it so peaceful out here? Like the sky and the birds. It's like we're in a big blue cup."
A giant blue cup.
Yeah.
The sky is like a cup.
And he's like, and we're the dregs. And she's like, "Oh, Billy, sometimes you're so dark. You've got a darkness to you that I just can't tap into."
Yeah, really weird lines.
Very
We're the
on the
dregs.
nose.
Pour it out.
Yeah.
And before that, she's like, "Don't you look like the cat that swallowed the cream?" Grandpa says he's going to shoot you on sight next time you step on the property. And then she goes right into, "This guy's like a cup." Like, this is like the Room level dialogue. What the fuck? These actors do deserve better.
Yeah, they weren't well served by the writing necessarily.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but she notices the red mark on his chest.
He's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "I don't know. Probably something bit me in the desert. I was fooling around there." Just
Went out there. I mean,
as you do.
that's what you do in the 70s when
go
you live in
fool
the desert. You just go fool around in the desert.
Have desert, will fool around. The tale as old as time. And so she's telling him that there's a party coming up. It's her friend's birthday party, and he's getting invited with the cool kids, and he doesn't want to because this guy's a fucking downer. Seems like he's got a good thing going on, but
He doesn't want to go to the party, and she like threatens him, like, "I'll go with the other cool kid in school if you don't take me."
Yeah, it's a pool party. Babes everywhere.
Sexy. Yeah, everybody's there. They've got a weenie roast going on. There's a big cake. It's Fran's birthday. She's the only one eating cake.
well, Fran's like eating cake in the pool, which is just, I guess it's her place. She can do what she wants, but that seems off base to me. I don't want to eat in a pool. Earlier today, we were talking
out of
about
order.
how much of a hassle it is to clean a pool if something happens. You don't want that.
On par with feces.
Yeah.
Getting in the pool.
They all look the same when they're floating around in a pool.
Throw some chlorine in there. But I think the idea is that Fran's supposed to be kind of frumpy too, but she's not really. She's the only one eating cake. Like, I have no idea why anyone else is eating cake. I think they're supposed to be like, she's so fat eating cake or something.
Fran's the worst host in the world because all she's doing is moping in the corner and eating cake, and like instead of going out and actually talking to the people who are at her place.
Well, people are having a good time.
Exactly. People are having a good time, and I'm sure if she went and talked to them, they'd be like, "Hey, Fran, great party. Can I have some of that cake?" You gonna you gonna bogart that whole Sara Lee to yourself or what?
That's what Billy says later. He's like, "I bet she ate that whole cake."
Well, they
that
show her
cow.
like 2 or 3 times throughout the party, and she's always eating like a new piece of cake in some new location in her massive backyard.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice that at all.
She's complaining to Kathy. She's like, "You're the only one who would have come here if not for my pool, Kathy. Everybody hates me." There's been no indication of that. Everyone seems to like her.
This is another weird throwaway detail in this movie, I guess.
And so-
And while this is happening, we see the aliens. They're kind of like flying away from Earth. Their boss calls them up on the video phone, and we get like a long scene of the boss talking to them. We'd be like,
Yeah.
and it like cuts to like the footage of the laser on the ground and like Billy having the laser going pow, pow, pow. And he's like, and they're like,
oh, better go back.
He conveys it all. He's a pissed off boss chewing out his employees. He points at them and like points back toward Earth.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny because they use the exact same footage that we just saw like 2 minutes ago. And
yeah, I wasn't gonna overthink it, but I was like, how did this get recorded? They must have had a drone there with stealth cable. No, best not to think about
the
these
boss
things.
Love that.
They're already making a movie about it. You guys fucked up. Get back here and get the laser blaster.
Round 2, they turn back around.
Yeah. Wah, wah. Back at the party, Kathy's disappeared and Billy finds him. The two dweebs are just, they're getting ready to.
This is this movie's sexual assault scene.
It goes super dark for no reason.
There's no nudity in this movie.
No, there is no nudity.
A little bit of side
Points for
boob
it.
earlier,
Yeah,
but that's about it.
Billy gets there in time to stop this. He's walking through the house and he hears through a door. She's saying, "No, stop, stop." And he gets in and a pretty lame fight scene ensues where he gets beaten up by them and she steps in. And again, the dialogue's not quite clicking in the scene.
No, they kind of give Billy the what for. They start beating him up a little bit. And,
Yeah, she hit one with a tennis racket.
She tried to break up the fight and Billy had the tennis racket and she was like, "No, stop, nothing happened. It's okay." Like
They still kick Billy's ass. Pussy.
Froggy's
pussy.
jumping up and down like a trained circus seal, clapping his hands while his buddy's just
Kicking
Robert De
ass.
Niro kicking Billy in the ribs. They leave the party. Billy and Kathy left the party way early, and then it's like midnight, and other people are just leaving the party. The dweebs are starting to leave the party, and then you see this kind of like alien-looking thing up on the hill looking down at the dweeb's car. They get in, the dweebs get out, and then Billy aims his laser blaster at it and just blows the car up, and everybody at the party's like, "My word."
Yeah, that's like the first time we see like how the gun seems to be like fucking with Billy and turning him crazy.
Yeah.
Because before he goes to that, even he's like in his underwear and dancing in his room like Martin Sheen at the start of Apocalypse Now.
He dances with the laser gun a couple times. It reminded me of like Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre when he dances with his chainsaw. He just kind of spins around and he's having a great old time with the laser gun.
Oh yeah, wouldn't you though?
These teens don't know what the hell's going on. They don't quite believe a laser gun blew this car up. They're like, was it a lightning bolt? Was it this? Was it that?
They keep talking like it's a lightning bolt, and Froggy just can't get over this fact. It comes up multiple times throughout the movie where it's like, do you really think they're going to believe it was a lightning bolt? There's no way a lightning bolt could do that.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a running gag.
So the next day we're at the sheriff's station and got the ornery sheriff who's chewing a stogie like the size of a goat leg. You got to go check out this car explosion. You got to go figure out what's going on. And then Mr. Craig comes in.
He was out in the desert earlier. He came across the remnants of Billy's playing in the desert with the laser gun. He found like the broken Coke bottle and he found like some charred ground because once Billy got that thing going, he did like 10 explosions there that were pretty good. This guy's like a man in black from the government or something. He's on the lookout. He's like trying to track down the laser gun.
Played by Gianni Russo.
Okay.
Gianni Russo. Most famously, he plays Carlo Rizzi in
That's right.
The Godfather.
Yeah.
6 years earlier, he was getting the shit beat out of him by Sonny Corleone.
Oh, is he that guy?
He's the guy who gets
Yeah.
like one of the most monumental ass kickings in cinematic history.
Beat
One of
all
the
up
most
and down the
memorable
street.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that fire hydrant
God.
blowing water.
I wish James Caan was still alive just so he could kick my ass.
That'd be sweet.
I mean, De Niro can still kick me, but he doesn't kick like he used to.
No.
He can't get those high kicks.
You
Get
see
the
him
high
in like The Irishman, and it's like he's supposed to be 28, and he's like kicking the shit out of some guy. I'm like, sorry, De Niro, you just don't have the kicks anymore.
You didn't have to do it this way. You could have just
Yeah.
recast a younger guy for these parts.
It's such a great beating that this guy gets in The Godfather. Like his fingers are getting bit by James Caan
Yeah,
off
it's
a
such a good
post at
detail.
one point.
He's holding on to the little fence grate because he doesn't want to get dragged into the street.
Yeah.
And so James Caan bites his fingers. So he's in this movie now.
He never, I don't think, reveals what agency he's for, but when he comes into the sheriff's office, the sheriff's smoking the stogie, he's got his feet up on the desk, and the sheriff's kind of like, what do you want? And he's like, well, you can get your feet off that desk for starters and put that stogie out. And the sheriff's like, who do you think you are? And he pulls out some identification. We don't see what the agency is, but Sheriff smartens up real quick.
It's enough to know that you better straighten up and fly right. And so he orders the whole town to be shut down, and he's asking about any suspicious activity, and he's really taking control of the situation.
Kind of like a Jack Frost, the serial killer Jack Frost, the like FBI guy or whoever that shows up in that. Quarantine the entire town. Or The Blob, or any number of small town weird alien movies, I guess.
The spook shows up and kind of gets everybody scared straight. Kathy convinces Billy to go to the doctor, and this is where we get the lovely Roddy McDowall.
Yeah, we're more than halfway through the movie, and I'm like, where the fuck is Roddy McDowall? Finally, he showed up.
He's the doctor. He does a little, he sees Billy's metal plate, and he wants to do a little incision to get some of it out and send it to a lab in Springfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Ray. My car's broken down outside of the studio.
It's so awkward.
Can I borrow a quarter to phone my mechanic?
He needs to get the sample to his buddy that very night. The lab tech in Springfield. And it's one of the more awkward bits of dialogue in the movie where Roddy McDowall is just talking on the phone. It's almost like the two parts of the telephone conversation have nothing to do with each other. And Roddy McDowall is like, "Yes, midnight. Yes, it will have to be after midnight. I'm afraid I won't be able to leave until night time to take the sample."
I feel so bad for this schmuck at the lab because it's the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And essentially Roddy McDowall saying, like, you need to stick around at work for another 10 hours or something.
Oh, man.
That. And, like, they didn't say, it was like, can I go home? No, I don't know when I'll be there. It could be between now and sometime after midnight.
I am afraid it will most definitely be after midnight.
Best to just wait there. And
Trust me, I'll be there. Nothing will happen.
That's Roddy
that
McDowall's
guy's still waiting to this day.
Because as much as they wanted to put Roddy McDowall's name at the top of the poster, this is pretty much it for him.
That's it.
He immediately dies going for his midnight ride. Billy's in his ghoul makeup with his laser gun.
And he blasts Roddy McDowall's car and it kind of rolls over, blows up. Great. Love it. Meanwhile, this guy's just waiting. He's like, I want to see my wife and kid. But Roddy McDowall said he was going to be here tonight.
He tells his secretary, place a call into the local sheriff because there could have been an accident.
And boy, was he right. The next day, they're investigating the accident. So I gotta say that the cops did a shit job of locking the town down. The guy told them to do one thing, and Roddy McDowall's driving out. Billy's out there. People are just getting out. No problem.
They're not the sharpest tools in the shed, these local sheriffs.
They're too damn high.
Yeah, this isn't Return of the Living Dead or Last of Us.
No.
Those cops are not fucking around. These are just too dumb. They're like Cheech and Chong.
They do get like some sniper cops out later in the helicopter or in the airplane that's going around.
It's one of the rare airplane snipers that you see in a movie.
That'd be tough.
North by Northwest.
I guess that's like the other one, but it seems like such an inefficient way to kill somebody. It's just like do these huge swooping loops.
Yeah,
get a chopper.
Yeah,
and he didn't actually have like a gun with a scope. He had like a machine gun like a Vietnam machine gun from the Vietnam War or something.
A Vietnam machine gun,
the ones used by the Americans, the M16, I think, that kind of gun. Yeah,
the kinds they used for atrocities in Vietnam.
Yeah, exactly. Good for massacring innocent people, but not good for taking sniper shots from an airplane.
So McDowall, he gets blown up, and like it's another one of these explosions in this movie. They have a handful of good ones where it like shows it several times from several different angles, which I love. That just like little flex, be like, check it out, guys! Like we made a sweet explosion. Like here it is, and now here it is again. Oh, and up here.
Yeah.
We only have one shot. We need total coverage.
Yeah.
Total coverage.
Let's get several cameras on this one. That's going to be sweet.
Like Robert Rodriguez was talking about making El Mariachi, and he's like, what do I have access to? Like before he wrote a script, he was like, I have a bus, I have some prop guns, I'm going to write a movie around that. These guys were like, got a guy who can do explosions, and I've got a guy who can do stop motion. I'm going to make a movie around that. And those are the selling points of the movie. That's like
enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
It's not Star Wars.
No.
No, in 85 minutes, it'll get you where you're going, though.
It needed more blood. That would have made it truly great.
That's, yeah, there isn't really any gore to speak of. But
sci-fi weapons, they do heat rays and stuff like that. So
lots of incinerations.
We do cut to the aliens seeing the footage of the car blowing up too. They're also watching it.
Yeah, they're like,
and
oh
even
shit.
They're like, oh damn, this is fucked up.
Like, our boss.
Did you see that other angle? So everybody's after Billy. He gets taken in by the cops. While the cops are taking him in, like the bigger guy gives him a punch right in the belly. He's like, right in the belly, Billy.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, yeah, good one. Got him right in the belly, Billy.
Yeah. He's like, Mr. Craig, that fancy government man. He's going to want to ask you all kinds of fancy questions, but I know what really gets a perp to talk. And gives him the small town sheriff treatment in the back of the car there.
But then he like kind of flashes. He opens his chest to show them all his weird chest growth thing, and that kind of makes everybody uncomfortable.
It freaks everyone out. Yeah, the big guy's like, I never before seen nothing like that in my whole life. And it's like, I was thinking if I saw that, I would probably just be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Go to a doctor. Like, it's not that freaky.
Hit him again.
Yeah, he's different. Yeah.
And so Billy, they take him in to get tested at the lab, and they do some science in a very science-like way. There's a lot of swishing of beakers and people looking at graphs and charts and going like, what does this mean? And
yeah. The metal in his chest is a material that isn't found on Earth, generic scientist says. And he's also saying it also appears to be growing. He's like, I don't know if this makes me sound crazy, but this material is growing. The government guy's like, no, you're not crazy.
Yeah, he's the first guy that Carlo Rizzi's been nice to in the entire movie. Everybody else, he's a total asshole to them, but this guy's like, good work.
And then later the Colonel.
That's true. Him and the Colonel have a bit of a history.
They have a history. They never go into it.
Wonder what it is.
Yeah, they must have been
They're
on the
lovers?
same. There's history between us, Colonel.
What happens in the foxhole stays in the foxhole. Whatever you say, Colonel.
Fire in the hole.
So
Love
then
in the trenches.
Night Revenge. Another Coke?
Yeah,
Night Revenge.
Billy is stalking the cops now as they stop at the gas station for a Coke, which is everybody's favorite activity in this town is going to the Coke machine outside the gas station.
Billy drinks one earlier, and it's the most refreshing looking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Nothing like a Coke, ice cold Coke in the middle of the desert. That'll.
This podcast brought to you by Coca-Cola.
I could go for a Coca-Cola.
I've got one.
Like, this is the best explosion in the movie, I think.
Yeah.
When he takes out the cops.
And the gas station goes up.
Yeah.
One of the cops goes into the gas station for a piss break.
That's the first thing Billy blows up with his laser gun. That thing just goes up like nobody's business.
He
then the
blows up
car.
the car. And that's real good.
And then the whole damn shebang, the whole convenience store blows up. This was their money shot for the movie. This was like this is our biggest explosion of all the explosions we do.
But the skinny cop gets away. He's like running away, and then Billy shoots him too. Direct hits him with this laser gun. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
And Billy's looking more and more like a deadite as he's like rampaging around, blowing shit up like crazy.
He really does look like a zombie.
It's a great rampage.
It's a weird alien that he plays. He almost seems like a dumb beast or something most of the time, but he's using like this sophisticated technology.
Sophisticated technology.
I don't know what the direction or the script told him because he's like,
yeah, he's lurching around.
Yeah, like a zombie. Like
when I was a kid, I had like a Fisher Price golf set that had like some little plastic golf clubs you put in. It was like a big blue tube. What I would do with it more than anything was just put it on my arm and pretend that I had a gigantic laser blast.
Oh,
and that's pretty much what this looks like. He's got like a big plastic tube, and I guess they use like found parts from the back lots of wherever they were filming this. And one of the pieces is an old Star Trek tricorder and things like that.
Oh,
like
cool.
Old sci-fi props all got super glued together to make this sweet laser blast.
And the lasers actually look pretty cool, which is a plus. That could make or break a movie called Laserblast.
Yeah.
The lasers mostly work.
I gotta say, the movie's called Laserblast, and he blasts a lot of lasers.
Yeah, it lives up to the
a
title.
lot of fucking lasers.
100%.
It really does deliver on that premise, doesn't it?
Right from the get-go and all the way to the end.
What delivers more, Heathers?
There's a
You get
lot of Heathers.
There was multiple Heathers.
When I was reading the trivia for it, like they say the word Heather like 90 times in that movie or something like that. That's a lot of Heathers.
As advertised.
Fairly short runtime.
Okay, we'll call it a tie.
That's another way these movies are high-low of each other. They both deliver on the promise of their titles.
These movies are just so much more connected than we ever could have imagined.
Yeah, so Billy's rampaging around the town, and this is where we get the airplane with a sniper in it.
It's pretty great. They just kind of keep doing passes at him, and they keep missing, and Billy's trying to blast him, and he's
definitely
missing.
inspired by North by Northwest.
Yeah, must
Although
have
the
been.
scene has none of the tension, really, of that movie.
And this explosion, it must be said, isn't as good as a car exploding, because I don't think they were able to actually explode an airplane for this.
They didn't blow up a plane. Like, he finally gets a good shot. The plane comes down really low, and it goes right by him, and he's shooting at the plane, and finally he hits it. You see the laser blast go up to the plane, and then the screen just kind of goes...
Kind of a cheap trick, but
cheapskates.
I mean, what?
It works. I don't hate this movie for it.
No,
it blew up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the only reason I might have been mildly disappointed by that is just because they went there with the explosion so often before, and you actually did see all the cars exploding so good, and the convenience store explode.
It did stick out just because of that, but
planes are just so much more expensive than a car you can get from a junk heap.
I mean, we've covered some movies on this podcast already. For low movies like Double Target and stuff where they like blew up like 50 helicopters. Yeah, and I was like, how did they do this on this shoestring budget? Like, I can't even ride in a helicopter. Like, I've been working my whole life. I don't know. Like,
it's an old junk
helicopters
helicopter.
are expensive.
This movie hired Roddy McDowall. They couldn't afford to blow up a plane.
I was wishing that Roddy McDowall had died this way in Double Trouble, getting his car exploded. He dies pretty good in that. They just shoot him and there's some blood, I think. If he had got exploded like in this movie, that would have been the ultimate.
We should actually keep track of all the different ways Roddy McDowall dies in the movies that we watch, because I'm sure that there's going to be a bunch.
We should make a spreadsheet, for Roddy McDowall, for Donald Pleasance, any of those guys that pop up. We'll keep track of their deaths.
I did like also that guy in the plane. He's got like a gun. It sound like the sound mixing makes it sound like it's like a belt-fed 50 caliber machine gun. But what he's got, it's looks
a Vietnam
exactly
gun.
like a gun that I have. It's like a 22 semi-automatic. It should just be like, pew, 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 pew. Welcome back to Guncast.
You got to bring more firepower to a fight like that. Yeah, Billy blows up the plane. He does his like laser Leatherface dance where he kind of dances joyfully.
You read kind of Leatherface. I kind of read Sand Person.
Oh yeah, Sand Person.
That's a little more.
That's a good one.
I think there's a less offensive name for them, but I can't remember what it is.
Tuscan Raider.
Tuscan Raider.
Yeah,
that's their preferred.
Right, that's where we came around to.
Yeah, I think more maybe the dance he does at the very end is very Leatherface, because he dances for like a solid 30 seconds at the end with his laser gun,
kind of waving it around.
Yeah, like really getting artistic with it.
Yeah. But you don't really have like the golden hour sun or anything like.
No,
there isn't really any artistic vision to this movie. Phil.
No,
everything
just get 'em dancing. I got a tea time.
This entire movie was like born out of their budget. Like
it was shot over a weekend, and maybe it was shot over a long weekend.
And sometimes it does have that weird avant-garde feel, but that's entirely due to the cheapness. It's like it's an accident. It comes out as a result of that. Yeah.
This is where Froggy and Chuck come by in their car and their convertible.
They got a brand new car from the insurance from their last car that got blown up, and Froggy can't believe. He's like, do you really think they're going to believe that it's the lightning? They're never going to believe it's the lightning. And Chuck's like, shut the fuck up about the lightning.
And then he repeats it again, and he says the same thing again. I think that was probably supposed to play a lot funnier than it necessarily does. But
I'm on my back, rolling around, laughing my ass off.
There's a bit of an awkwardness to it. I don't know.
Don't worry, the awkwardness is soon put to rest because Billy Laserblasts them real good.
These were the rapist guys from earlier.
Yeah, it feels good. Fuck those bullies.
Yeah.
I have Froggy and Rapo written all through my notes. I just had him written down as Rapo throughout the movie.
He should have a good nickname like that. You can't just be Chuck.
Chuck, Boba, like Banana Fana for rape.
Or like Danny Trejo in Con Air, wasn't his name like Johnny 37 because he had done 37 sex crimes?
Johnny 23, but it'd be Johnny 200 if they knew the truth.
Yeah. John Malkovich is like, you're pawn scum.
You're somewhere between the crust that collects on the sides of your mouth when you are really thirsty.
Yeah.
And a cockroach.
Burn.
Oh, they don't know. Is that Danny Trejo?
Is it okay for us to do a Danny Trejo?
It's me, Danny Trejo.
Well, when you guys were talking about how it's hard to do a girl impression earlier, I was thinking, like, what girls would be easy to do impressions of? Oh, like maybe Rosie Perez. And then I was like, oh, well, there's a reason, because she has a distinct, Spanish accent. Is it appropriate? I don't know.
Kate Winslet at the end of Titanic. Come back! Come back!
I could do Marissa Tomei.
Oh, yeah. Very, very Italian.
Hey, I could too, babe.
Hey, the tires on that car ain't so good. She's like Tony Pizza.
Oh, well, I guess Frances McDormand and Fargo.
Winona Ryder, is that you?
I guess any actress putting on a Minnesota affectation is okay to do an accent of.
You betcha. That's a Minnesota thing. That didn't sound Minnesotan, but that's what they say. You betcha. Oh, yeah. You betcha.
What a nice cup of joe. Do we have any listeners in Minnesota yet? Can we keep that streak running? Because I don't think we do.
We won't after this.
So, Billy, he blows up Froggo and Rapo's car. And then he starts hitchhiking, and he gets picked up by the biggest burnout ever, he's all on his own trip about...
He's supposed to be high, I think, maybe, like high on acid. Because, he's got his own shaggin' wagon, like a hippie van that he picks Billy up in, and he's not making sense what he's talking.
He's like, one time I went skydiving, and then Betty Crocker was there, and she's like, chill out, man.
It's like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, man.
Yeah, Billy's not talking. He's just like, and he's like, wow, far out, man. Cool. Where have you been? Cool, man. Far out.
This is where he blows up the Star Wars poster when they're driving by.
Just as a drive-by.
That's not emblematic of how Laserblast is going to come along and smash every single box office record Star Wars.
Man, did they ever own Star Wars?
Yeah. Got him. So, yeah, Billy shows them, and then he laserblasts the driver in the van, and he takes over, and just the rampage. From here on out, it's just a total rampage. He's laser blasting everything in sight.
He's not stealthy anymore. Earlier he was just popping out at night to do his laser blasting, but now he's just running through the town like some kind of weird ghoul and just blowing up pinball machines. And
one of my favorite.
He's getting 5 stars in GTA.
100%.
Yeah, he's all out, but he is playing it like a confused animal too. He's like,
well, like they just brought King Kong into New York City type of thing, and he's just
that's what it reminded me of, King Kong. I kept thinking of King Kong when I was looking at him.
Yeah. Also, it's like this weirdly enclosed set. It looks more like a set than any town in like the Southwest. It doesn't, because there's like tall, like 3-story walk-up brick buildings and stuff. Like you wouldn't find that in like New Mexico or like Eastern Southern California.
He's in
Where does this
Baltimore.
take place? It takes place in California. Like I
think it's supposed to.
It
looks like California.
Some desert place.
But like it looks like a bad New York City set or something, or where it's supposed to be set, and that's what they're.
I think at the sheriff's office earlier, it says Knoll County Sheriff's Office on the wall, and then the lab they keep wanting to send stuff to. They mention the city that's in too, but I can't remember. But I'm not.
Damn, those are crucial plot points.
Yeah,
they really
this is in Knoll County.
So listeners, do your homework. Figure it out.
Do like I always intend to do and find out where Springfield is. Find out where Knoll County is. Put the clues together.
Springfield is where the lab is from this movie, actually. That's where they send stuff. Springfield, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Good night, Springton. There will be no encore.
There's not much left. Like, Billy's just blowing up cars. He's blowing up mailboxes. He's blowing up everything. Craig, the CIA guy or whatever he is, he rolls up on Billy. Just before Billy's able to laser blast him, Billy gets ultra laser blasted by the aliens who are looking on from on top of a building across the street or something like that. They just
it is sort of a glorious. Billy's having a blast.
Kind of just collapses, and I was like, "Is he dead?" And like Kathy is there, and she just like goes up to his body,
she
like,
cradles him
and cradles him, and then credits roll.
Yeah.
They fly away before picking up the laser blaster.
Yeah,
again.
They just walk off again. It plays out just like the laser fight at the beginning of the movie. Billy doesn't do any damage to them, and then they just like roast him.
Well, what was that laser fight at the beginning of the movie then? Because it wasn't the
exact same thing that happened before. The cosmic ballet goes on.
Yeah, but it was a different blonde kid, I think, who looked very identical to Billy. I think this is why the government guy's on the trail of this thing, because this has happened in another town before. And again, the writing...
But it was Billy at the start.
No,
I think it
just looked like Billy.
It's credited as Billy at the start.
Oh, is it?
I think it was the same actor, but I think it was supposed to be a different person.
They didn't want to put a different guy in makeup.
No, maybe that's part of the avant-garde nature of it. Billy...
they're dressing Billy up. It's like, well, we already did this scene.
Yeah, it's like surreal.
Wow.
We already did the scene where the aliens blew me up. Yes, Billy. Yes, you did. We're just going to do it again. Total coverage. Total coverage, Billy.
He's blowing you up in Baltimore now. He blew you up in the desert before. Now you're in Baltimore.
Damn, this movie. Yeah, it looked like Baltimore.
Yeah.
God damn,
It looked like the
movie's pretty
Tenements.
fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I'm going to be generous and say it's 15 great explosions and some great stop motion.
There was enough fun stuff like that to keep me engaged for sure, but it's a pretty stupid movie.
The writer of this movie actually appears in the movie. She's in the scene earlier, I think.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
Nice.
when the government guy shows up to the sheriff's office for the first time, she's the one typing on the typewriter, and then the sheriff's like, "Oh, you sure do type so much. You're going to type yourself a whole book one day," or something. And she's like,
That's cute.
"Oh, that's my job, sir." Something like that. But she is in this movie.
Fran Shack.
Fran Shack.
You know, I wish her well, but she wrote a shitty movie.
Yeah.
I wish her someone would throw her down a well.
Yeah.
This movie could have been a lot better. There's some people doing some good work on it.
They had the elements here where they could have made made everything work really well. I know they had no budget pretty much, but they still had pretty good effects in it. They had great makeup.
Take a B sci-fi movie that's from around this time. What's the name of it? What was that John Carpenter movie?
Not Dark Star or something like Dark Star.
Take something like Dark Star, which came out a couple years before this, also on a shoestring budget, but directed by somebody who had vision, written by somebody who had something in mind.
Dan O'Bannon.
And
This came out the same year as Alien.
Sure, that movie had more of a budget, but like
Phantasm. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
movie that came out the same year. That's a movie with like no budget, but a lot of creativity.
Again, it's a Charles Band production. This is his bread and butter, is making really cheap movies like the Fullmoon Features. They're known for like the Puppet Master franchise. I think they made movies like Ghoulies, Robot Jocks, Robot Wars. Jeffrey Combs appears in a lot of movies that they do.
I've seen a lot of this guy's movies, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them.
And a million others.
Oh, Piranha came out in 78.
Evil Bong.
Evil Bong, Ginger Dead Man. Again, Ginger Dead Man, like bad B movie, but it's got Busey in it, Gary Busey. So, they get their name actors that you can put on the poster to attract attention, and it's slapped together pretty good. They were known for the VHS market, basically, through the 80s and 90s and everything.
This guy made 8 movies from 1977 to 1980.
Charles Band.
Let's just say 7 movies from 1977 to 1979.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like a Roger Corman figure where, he's got his band of his brother does the scores for his movies, and
It's Charles Band-Aid.
but he gets a movie like this, throw a couple porn stars in there. They're probably having a great time. They're like, "Oh, you mean I don't have to have sex on camera today? I get to get chased around by a big head? That sounds fun to me."
What is $300 in 1978? That's what Roddy McDowall got paid.
$300.
When you think about it, though,
It's like $1,500. That's not bad for a day's work.
and he probably worked for 2 hours, really. Like,
Yeah, he did all
He's-
scenes in a day.
he's in one
But,
scene, then they brought him out in the back lot and said, "Okay, now sit in the car and pretend, make a shocked face like your car's about to blow up." And that was it. Make sure you make it clear on the phone that you cannot leave till after midnight.
You're not going to be here until after midnight.
Got it.
Yeah, can do.
I was in Planet of the Apes.
What did you guys think? That's Heathers and what the fuck's this called?
Laserblast.
Laserblast.
So guys, that was Heathers and Laserblast. What did you like more?
I actually don't know which movie I would rank higher, though. This is actually maybe the harder one to rank for me that we've done so far. I really appreciate what both these movies were doing. Heathers is pretty much an A-list movie. It's got big stars in it, but it has sort of a weird giallo feel to it that's kind of fun and weird, and some of the dialogue might be a little bit awkward. You can tell like probably a middle-aged man was writing it. Laserblast, the writing, crappy, script crappy, great explosion, great makeup effects, great alien turtle monsters. I almost have to flip a coin on this one. Wow.
What's the scale? What's your scale? Like how many points does an explosion get you, and how many points does like a giallo sequence get you on whatever rubric you're working with here?
I don't know.
Walk us through what's going on in your head.
That's the problem. I have like 3 different rubrics I'm looking at, and it's getting all mixed up. I'm gonna give the point to Heathers. Yeah,
Heathers. Okay.
Yeah. I will say. I kind of, it took me a while to vibe with Heathers, but once I did get in, I was like, okay, I get what this movie's throwing down, and I'm kind of with it. I like it. And I love Winona Ryder. She's amazing.
Oh, thank you. You shouldn't have.
I also love Winona Ryder, and it's hard for me not to love a movie that has her in it. And I'm also grading on a scale where it's like, yeah, weird turtle monsters. One of my favorite actresses and probably my biggest childhood crush that maybe is still a big actress crush for me. I love fucking Winona Ryder.
I love her in Stranger Things still. I'm like,
she's so great. I don't know. Heathers I found a little bit off-putting in a lot of ways. I thought it had a lot of funny stuff. It's a really original and cool movie. It has a really good script. Talented people are in it. I'm not the biggest fan of Christian Slater, so I got to give the edge to Laserblast.
Valid
There's just
opinion.
a lot of stuff in Laserblast that I can't get in any modern movies. There are other modern movies like Heathers. There's a lot of movies that are trying to be like it. Maybe aren't as good or are better.
They probably don't go all as far as Heathers does with like the teenagers dying and mass suicide storyline, but it's a bit more of a sensitive topic these days, probably.
They're both weird freak movies, and I'm a weird freak, but not that Heather's kind of weird freak as much, personally.
So it's down to me. Well,
You're the tiebreaker.
I'm not that much of a. I don't mind Christian Slater, but
Cool.
he's not gonna put my tushy in any seats or anything. So I think I'm leaning more towards Heathers. Kind of problematic or troubling content aside, I think that just kind of putting both movies in context, Laserblast, it's a lot of fun. You got explosions. That's great. It is kind of following the trend, trying to catch on the wave of the Star Wars trend, whereas Heathers is kind of bucking the current trend, where if you look at teen high school movies of the time, you got your Fast Times at Ridgemont Highs, you got your John Hughes movies and whatever, and this is just kind of like a sharp turn that allowed people to kind of go and explore darker high school content, for better or worse. A lot of the stuff that they're making light of doesn't age well, but I enjoyed it. It's wacky, it's fun, and you know that that Winona Ryder, I really like her too. Yeah. Her and Christian Slater make a handsome couple.
Hers is the voice I hear in my dreams.
So I guess I'm going Heathers.
It's me. Want to have sex tonight?
Oh, Winona.
Oh, it's no problem if you don't. I'll just make you some coffee.
I'm like the nerdy friend.
Full Irish for a second. I set up my strip croquet wickets in the backyard. You want to come over? Well, I never really played strip croquet before, but I guess I'll come over and knock some balls around with you. Oh, great. Heathers I preferred. Laserblast is fun, but I preferred Heathers overall. Pretty easy for me.
Well, I had to break the vote.
Heathers wins.
Heathers, but you didn't know it was broken until the very end.
That means Luke has to do a humiliating challenge for being on the losing side of that's our high and low tradition here.
There's nothing more humiliating than picking the next episode for this awful show. So where are we going next time?
Next time we're going to do a little bit of an Oscar special.
Is Billy Crystal going to host?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Actually, I have James Franco and Anne Hathaway on the phone because I think that's everyone's favorite Oscar host. We're actually going to do a little bit of an Oscar special, but also we're just going to focus in on one particular movie that's nominated for some Oscars, and it's a movie about snow cannibalism. Society of the Snow.
There's snow cannibalism like show cannibalism.
We're going to talk Society of the Snow, and that should be a real laugh riot. And we're going to also talk about a little bit of a cult classic from the 1990s called Ravenous.
Hey, who's hungry?
I'm a mite peckish. For Long Pig.
Well, right on. Until next time when we come back with a little bad taste special. This has been High and Low. Thanks for listening. I'm Vonn.
I'm Mitchell.
I'm Luke.
Smell you later.
Peace.
When I was just a little girl, she said to me.